they're going to come even later in on the northern side. Classic after all things. But for the likes of Entropic, they're going to find themselves relatively uncontested. Chris was maybe in a position where he could have scouted them out, put some at least suppressing fire shots in, but he's going to fall back at the time being and just let them make a move. Very unlikely that we're going to see Entropic catch a 9 zone from this position. They will eventually have to make a push up the high ground where it's actually Exalt that's holding the line. That might be a tough customer for them to try and make a breakthrough.
Yeah, and also, I mean, on the far west side of that, Ascent is once again setting up their Autobahn. I like the idea. It's something we've seen the German, Austrian roster do for a long time. But as I was just gonna say, it also comes with a warning sign of do not overstep your boundaries, because your nearest teammate is about 1 kilometer away. So play it smart, play it careful, and enjoy the amount of info you're given, but do not go overzealous, because you might just end up burning your fingers.
They had some rough timing for Chris, actually. He was on the high ground to the south of Monte, scouting this direction, and thought, you know what, it's about 45 seconds till the zone closes. Surely no one's going to arrive in front of me at this time. Guess again, Entropic were on that wide wrap. Thankfully, he won't lose his life for it, as you say, there was no support within about 2 kilometers. Vard, I don't think he meant to do that, but was chasing down Uber, will force him to regroup back to the rest of Na'Vi, so that off angle has now been taken away. And in 10 seconds or so, we will see just how the zone shapes up.
And we're going southwest. Okay. Entropic going, oh, I guess we'll take that. Thank you, Saga, for saying we weren't going to catch 9. I guess we'll take 8 of them instead. They're sitting very comfortably down there now, and look at all these teams now having to full speed send it down towards the southwest side. And worst thing here is going to be, as we're already now seeing from Twisted Minds, how do you go around Power Grid? There are just teams currently sat in perfect position to ambush you on your approach. So how the hell do we maneuver through this landscape? I think the only real answer right now is rev all the way around.
It's either that or just try and go through the middle and cross your fingers and hope for the best. Duck your head down below the dashboard if you can. It looks like that's kind of worked out for some of Solo, not all of them. They did lose one to that big meaty MK14 in the hands of Batulins up on the high ground. He did take a slight risk to go out and grab it, and it's already starting to pay dividends. Well, on the southwestern side, I mean, we said there was a potential struggle between the Wu and Entropic as they were coming out of Los Leones, but the struggles seem to come with them as they almost run into one another all the way over here by Monte Nuevo, but they do manage to disengage. Yepper's starting to creep up below Exalt as well, but Tulins isn't done yet. Priel, he just pulled up in an unsafe position, was not expecting the push out from Power Grid. Tulins managed to get a heal back, but Perfectix is on his way. No doubt nades in hand.
And this is the very Twisted Minds way of doing things, because they know they can take these fights early on because no one else is nearby. So Set has carried his friend into the car, wants to drive him away before they attempt to res, knowing that Twisted Minds is getting up ever so much closer. But I like this approach from Twisted Minds. You see it every time a team not necessarily pulls up on their compounds either, but gets close enough. You'll see Batulins instantly sprint out into the field and start throwing nades at them. They just don't like it. Like it kind of, I don't want to say counters their play style, but it just becomes a agitation whenever someone is sat right next to them, because it means they can't spread out. They can't flex out to scout. They always have to worry about the close spread. So always expect to see, whenever people play close to Twisted Minds, that Twisted Minds will do everything they can to force them to go play elsewhere.
And I think if you look at, let's say, any global event in the past 3 or 4 years, you will see that this squad is aggressively territorial over Power Grid. They do not like intruders. And to your point, they will do everything they can to flush them out. They have left Lu behind to hold on to Power Grid. There's plenty of teams towards the southeast that could make a bit of a push, but Howl, for the time being, more than happy to sit in the dips under the watchful eye of Na'Vi, actually, on the high ground as well, might just make it awkward to be any more proactive. And this Kilyakai has the MK12, and after all, of course, these two teams, you know what? These two teams can drop on the opposite side of the map and they'll still run into each other as their first engagement. Kilyakai will get the knock, but thankfully there's no one else around, so he should be able to grab the revive, unless Question Mark can spot this out from distance.
just peek over, knock a guy, and drive away. Go, ha ha! And then just leave. It's like, why? Kill the guy. You didn't have to do him like that. You just see him and give the info across. And now, as soon as they get the rest, as you were saying, here comes question mark full speed forward. They saw the knock in the kill feed. They know approximately where after I was playing this from. I don't necessarily think this is a bad play, because as you can see here, they're forcing them off. Gotta worry, though. Especially with the circle swinging back north now. I think for question mark, there are bigger fish in the sea or more important things to be concerned with. Now that they've forced them off, wrap straight back where you came from.
Elsewhere on the map, Ascend does exactly the same thing, but it's actually Mika is able to finish off Keanu. Question mark just about appear in the zone. They say, oh man, we've been rotating for so long. Let's just do it the easy way. We'll deploy the emergency parachute. That is one that I'm sure a team like Twisted Minds is going to have head on a swivel if they hear that plane come overhead. Prime target to drop down onto one of those warehouses or even a brick building if you can get on the roof. DA, a more direct approach for them. QF will be spun out though, and that is bad news. Michael will not be missing a shot like that.
Nope, not at all. The rest of them are able to cross further forward. I think they're going to stop right around there, and indeed they will. In the meantime, Howl and Solo taking a bit of a fight here. Sancho did fall earlier, but at least for now, the fight has gone fully in favor of Solo, as Howl is down to, I believe, just the mat.
Again, it's those direct sends for Howl just straight through the middle with reckless abandon that just really has not paid off. It was Solo that did the vast majority of the damage. There's also well, Smoke Wall playing pretty late, but Esports playing just that little bit later. They should grab the revive onto Beamy as well, be able to move on as 4. That's a big pickup for Foot. Again, we said only about 6 or so points away from the top 8, so every little point counts.
Does Ascent now under heavy fire, as well as the remaining 3 players that survived the push up from DA has opted to wrap further forward. That
Da li je Nixi bio bolja opcija? Ja mislim da su hteli Nixija da bi ga zvali, ako mene pitaš. Ali Mixi, mislim da bolje sign up od Mixija nije mogao, jer mnogo pomaže na luku. Pre je Luka sve sam radio, jer Rivas čuva leđa, najlup fraga i to, a sad imaš Mixija koji ti pomaže, kaže ti ovo je clear, možda možemo to, i Luka voli taj info kad ima, znaš, kad ne radi sve sam. I Mixi uvijek ide prvi ako ste primetili. Tako da, mnogo veliki plus. Nixi to ne bi radio, Nixi je najlup, samo puca.
It's just absolute chaos unfolding.
Mislim
najlup,
playstyle
I'm pretty sure this next circle is going to go northeast as well, just to make matters even worse, because the what has already become a funnel for teams to try and kind of traverse up this hillside, that's just going to be even harder come the next shift. And somehow, question mark has been able to withstand pressure, able to wrap all the way around and then into this position. It's a spot that I didn't expect to see them succeed to claim, but they have. And now for Esports comes in. Let's see where the next circle goes. Actually centering more up than I anticipated. Thought it was going to go more east, but here we are, Dender, as Foot is finally making their approach to the circle too.
Regardless of how many of those villages to the northeast are in the zone, FaZe will be pretty happy. They have the entirety of the zone, the road to play for themselves.
Sada se odvojiš više. Ove top 4 ekipe poslije laga.
To just pop up and cause damage. So said, it's really the only threat within a couple of 100 meters that could cause a problem, but they have a good idea. Bombilova's already down. They should know that he has a teammate somewhere nearby. BBL have fallen back into the compound.
Mišljenju, ja mislim da boljeg nisu mogli igrača da sign upuju. Da su mogli da biraju bilo kog u Evropu.
He was trying to make a smoke wall to get over here himself. Yeah, but he just got beaten to the punch. And that's the issue with this area. Map one shoot at one team in is just so damn difficult to maintain full control. Then you just have to back off. I think that's what Twisted Minds has learned time and time again. Now, question mark here, great, we can't control anymore. If you can maintain full control, great, you're going to be in a great position, but here, nope, not going to happen. So question mark opting to try and take out, or take the brick building on the southern side as well. Maybe a bit of an overreach, and now the sharks in the water are going to smell the blood as for Esports are creeping on in.
100% sad Mogu i da broje kill feed sami. Luka i Mixi. Ono, kao teško sam kad brojiš. A mislim da sad mogu da broje isto kill feed for isto mnogo bolest.
Let's play it a little more cautiously, a little more passive, a little more self-preservation instincts rather than just going out for blood. Because question mark, again, in a position where they don't really have that much to lose, they would be more than happy to just go down absolutely swinging and take as many a foot down with them as they possibly could. So they're going to have to try and play it a little more safe. Correxy from the north is going to put a bit of a spanner in that plan.
Getting all the way up to this building. That is worst. Maybe the best time would be to turn around, buddy. There's one right there. Doesn't see him at all.
No.
Did not expect Batulins to go outside. He was given enough time to work.
Evo ti Mixi, brate, juče pita nas ubija.
Batulins, fortunately enough for Twisted, saw Beamy before he
Tada, ja mislim da će bude i ovaj dobar turnir. I onda onaj pet. I da će im pojeni za ovo.
Maybe it was just the unfortunate situation that Beamy was standing on
Sajavano
metal.
što je tu face ispred sa pojenima.
But that is painful for Beamy. He was in a prime real estate to do some ratting, but just the unfortunate timing for the knock to come through from FaZe in the north just really backfired on that push from Foot.
If anything, at least Beamy going down meant that they could save the res 8C. So, Beamy, you died a hero. You allowed for 8C to live to see another circle. Potentially, at least with this one, shifting towards the east once more. It really just wants to go towards Power Grid. And now, even more so than before, it's going to be hard. Look at the southern side. So many teams down here. Why not up towards the north, you ask? Well, because it's very damn difficult to really play around here as long as their teams set center circle, and especially with Twisted Minds in that brick building to the north of Power Grid.
Yeah, everyone who's tried has already been wiped off the face of the earth. I mean, teams like Solo, DA, Howl, all tried to make a move into those ridges, got completely obliterated.
Partizan za kog je ušao u trku?
Northern side, uncontested. They're going to hear the vehicles of BBL looking to try and creep
Videli Partizan za kog je ušao u
similar
trku?
positions as well, and that's just the next targets lined up easily for Jeems, Gustav, and Fex already putting some shots towards them.
Nije do sad nisu imali ponudu, a sad primili
as
ponudu.
well on the shanties, but that's the opposite side of BBL's
Barcelonu je
split
samo
to the
rekao da
south
neće
as
da
the push from
produžuju.
Foot will eventually breach the walls of Power Grid. They need an opening knock with these grenades. And look at the positioning of Dante and Besto. They're up on the high ground. They're not going to be picked off by any random grenades or Molotovs. They're playing these angles so well.
These buildings are so hard to push into, and with you only having two really entries of approach, if you can't wrap around, it's you're relying heavily on the utility doing the
Da, pa on beše dao i pare za Vukana, ja mislim. Nije li on dao pare za Vukana beše? Mislim da je za Vukana dao, za naše ovaj dat.
Lions have already started to make a bit of a move into a more central position in the power grid, and Navi doing the same on the south as well. So it seems like whoever wins this battle for the warehouse is probably just about to walk into a blender immediately afterwards, or maybe even before Lou gets the first on the spray. Vard can't get through the door, doesn't even need question mark to do the damage.
Kako question markova ko tepa,
will get the better of the drop shot from Besto, and the push coming in from Twisted Minds is not going to work either. It's Alia from downtown that does the damage onto Phil first. Leaves Spyro all alone.
Now, Spyro just going to be forced to make the run on off. I like the idea they tried to kind of third party off the northern side of this, but try and run off. See if you can sit tight in this one. Now, after all, trying to force Michael off this position, able to survive with just the sliver of health. As Exalt now coming in, kind of helping up, clean up duty activated for Exalt as they now set the push back down the hill.
Molodux looking for the flank around the side. A little bit of damage into the smoke towards Hibaka would get the job done, but actually Artix has spotted out another threat just lurking on the opposite side. So Molodux, you've got to get this done quickly, if at all. No, Hibaka will sit him down before he even gets the chance. Ayinan, just too much to deal with. Now Michael's grenade might just get some retribution for Molodux. Gonna push the vehicle down lower, and it's actually gonna do more damage on towards Exalt. After all, somehow, just lurking down in the dips, a surviving Fayorist gets the drop onto Michael as well. After all, how on earth are you still alive? They're gonna get a placement point. It's super close.
I mean, they might just, they're close enough to it.
Ubio.
Yeah,
I Ferris, da.
able to stand strong for as long as they did here, Michael. Unluckily, fell down with a nade in hand.
Još su valjda ukapirali da se oni fajtaju na drugu stranu.
Smash, they realized they have to take the fight here. Face is still on the other side. Yeah, their timing off by just a second. They knew that the pressure was mounting from the north side. They had to take a fight somewhere. And with Michael folding, I think they felt that now was the time to make the play. Only thing that they weren't aware of was that was exactly what FaZe was thinking too.
Zero pressure on FaZe for the longest amount of time after all. It's going to try one last crazy wild send, and it will send them out of the lobby just before the placement points. Close, but couldn't quite outlast, and now Smash is in a pretty similar position to where After Alt were just a few seconds ago, prone in a dip with multiple threats on either side, grenades raining in, just has to get one close enough to land, but he is gone, but for now he's holding on, and actually outlast Spyro as the push will come. Question mark towards the northern side. All that remains Bestorlock, and that's a lot of grenades already flying towards him.
And not a whole lot more you can do when so many people are looking in your direction. He will fall, so will Smash as we make our way into the top 5. FaZe still in full control of the northern side of this one. Yepa has, I mean, they were one of the first teams to get up here, and yet have 0 kills. They have not really, I won't say they haven't been able to, but they have opted not to really peek out of this ridge at all. They've even set up a third camp. Issue is nades destroy these deployable shields. And who is really feeling it right now.
A dobro, to je zanimljivo. Ba, dođe. Ivan se uzeo onaj famas. To je zanimljivo. Ovo što je Twisted Minds 100 godina isti tim, to ne sviđa. Mislim, ja ih nikad nisam ni volao toliko.
The smokes are really the only thing that's buying them some time.
Meni je Foot baš zanimljiva ekipa, samo nešto na ovaj turnir se ne snalazi. Bar ne za sad.
And draw the attention away for now. FaZe can't overcommit onto this. The revives will come through. They'll get all 4 back
Gustav, imaš
up
dobar
to
net.
Yepa.
Evo, 3. Kako je sad preživeo od Metebe?
Also, I love the fact that there's just
extra vests flying all over the place.
They've really set up a fortification here. Issue is the nades already getting the better of them. And Alia through the smoke finds one. Second nade now should get at least the 2 confirms. Then we'll see how long Odin is bound to stay alive for. They are inside the circle. They have top 5 guaranteed. 1 or 2 more placement points would be amazing. And Artist still has to make a play as well. So there might just be 1 or 2 extra points up for grabs for this Yepa team, who desperately need points at this time. 18 in total, 0 points or 0 kills this game. It's not looking good for the rest.
It looks a lot more like Yepa are the points up for grabs at this point. There's 3 4-man teams just encroaching on this position. Entropic coming up from the south as well, who've, to be fair, managed to avoid most of the adversity that we expected them to have to try and battle their way through, coming up from the low ground to the south, but they've avoided it pretty effectively. They've only got 4 kills on the board, but from their position, that's totally fine. Artix drops as well, so Yepa will survive into the top 4, but I can't imagine it will be too much longer from now.
Yeah, I think FaZe is setting up the push, and well, here it comes. One goes forward. They do take casualties though. Will get confirmed as well. Always the driver to fall off first, and now Entropic wanting to see if they can continue over the knocker. They have the first player, Naylor, driving full speed. Just before they will take one down, and now for Navi, this should just be them on cleanup duty. Casualties on both sides.
Oh, we've got a bit of a 1v1 between James and Naileup if Na'Vi will allow it, but for what reason would they allow it? They want the points themselves. They're going to ruin everybody's fun. But James, he's still going to have one little more knock in the back pocket, but it won't be enough to prevent the 4-man push from Na'Vi, who swarmed the power grid from the south, claimed a full spot for themselves, and as soon as the opportunity arose, they pushed out and dominated everyone in those ridges.
They sure did. They send it in, and they managed to kind of grab a foothold or grab a part of power grid, which usually they wouldn't have been allowed to claim as easily. But because the fight between Question Mark and Twisted Minds lasted for as long as it did, there was just space up for grabs, and they came in swinging. taking down both those teams in the center to then wrap out here in the end with a pretty simple cleanup duty kind of task ahead of them to bring home the win.
Huge stuff from Na'Vi, and again, much needed. There's so many teams that it feels like we can say that they needed these points to get themselves back up into the top 8, and they were one of them. They're absolutely there now.
Yeah, they sure are. They didn't look good during the rotation. They didn't make grand finals, and here they are trying to prove, or actively proving, that what you saw during the previous tournament was nothing. I feel like this tournament as a whole is a big proving ground for a lot of these teams. FaZe didn't make grand finals during PGS1. Na'Vi didn't make grand finals during the rotation. It's a lot of teams that want to go out and show the world they're better than their most recent performances.
All right, guys, thanks so much for that cast. That was fantastic. What a great way. We were just talking about it, right? We're saying, you know, here in this case, here we need a team with double digits in a win and a mid pack, and then they're pretty well secured, and then Na'Vi goes out and do it, Saga.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a huge one as well. That puts them up at 60 points as well. I mean, it just feels like 60 points is just a recurring theme, but we identify it as a relatively safe position, particularly with 4 games left to go. Yeah, everyone just has that target in sights, and those who are hitting it are looking incredibly strong while doing so.
And another case of Entropic and FaZe Clan sharing mutual destruction like yesterday here, Toby.
I think both of them got a little eager to get the points in the ball, and in trying to claim the points, as Saga put it earlier, they became the points themselves in the end of it. So sometimes, I mean, again, when you're in a team that's already thriving, already doing well, you want to get even more, and they just got a bit too greedy.
Yeah, Saga, you are either getting points or you live long enough to become a point.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. I mean, look, Yefa, they did what they could. They had, again, coming out from Picado, they had the option to make an early rotate. They found themselves a spot where they could at the very least stack up some placement points, which had been lacking from a lot of the teams towards the bottom end of the standings. So it's good to see that they survived that long, but it's not going to be enough to give them the opportunity to break into the top 8 unless they're being proactive and picking up points. But it's still a little bit of a confidence boost potentially when it comes to the lower bracket to say, you know what, we can actually survive at the very least and outlast some of these other teams.
Yeah, and another case of utility being used as infiltration methods with question marks going into Power Grid here, taking one of the Twisted Minds down here. That kind of destroyed a little bit of the hope for Twisted Minds. They were not able to stay 4 guys strong here, Toby.
Yeah, and it's pretty rare actually that they failed to maintain full control, but kudos to Question Mark, came in, kind of caught them while they were looking the other direction, and claimed a spot for themselves, and then to be able to both take out foot on their approach and fend off against Twisted Minds, who we've always kind of called them one of the best third-party teams. They were ready for it, they anticipated, so they dismantled foot instantly pretty much to then turn around and take out Twisted Minds. To a very good performance from Question Mark.
Yeah, another case here, Saga, with FaZe Clan being able to get another double-digit game in terms of kills on the board here. That's looking very good for them. But Na'Vi, of course, standing strong in the top, 21 points, 16 for FaZe, 11 for Entropic, and Exalt again, just securing those mid-pack points there. That's super important for them, Saga.
It really is. I mean, 8 points per game in a 12-game series will absolutely be enough to get you into the top 8. Probably sort of 5, 6 is about where you're looking at for top 8. So Exalt have now broke that threshold. They are in the top 8, overtaking Twisted Minds in the previous game. But I mean, the top of the standings, the rich just continue to get richer, and the more points that go up towards these teams up at the top just means that our cutoff point is going to get tighter and tighter as the rest of the teams struggle to compete for the scraps.
Yeah, and the total leaderboard here, Toby, with Exalt and BBL still being those 2 teams that are being looked at to be hunted down in terms of getting into that top 8.
Yeah, it's it's getting more and more dicey, and with how many points some of these teams on the cusp are starting to rack up, maybe 60 points won't be enough by the end of the day. I think it's going to be pretty. I mean, DH just bounced up there. Na'Vi did now as well. If either BBL, Exalt, Twisted Minds, or After All have a game of similar caliber now, I mean, we might be looking at plus 60, 65 maybe even for a chance to qualify.
Oh yeah, it could definitely be. Like in terms of this, we're looking at 4 more games. We're probably looking at our mid-pack to have, you know, a double-digit game here, Saga. So it could definitely be, you know, 65, maybe even close to 70 in terms of the cutoff.
I think it's pretty telling how, if you look at every single team on the board, as far down as Foot Esports in 12th, we've seen from all of them that there is potential there to have those big pop-off games, those 11, 12, 13-point wins on the board that would just propel them up to around, again, that 60-point mark, which I don't know if we're going to be able to continue saying that that is a relatively safe spot, because if another team gets there and then, you know, the next couple of games, 60 points is already going to be the cutoff, so it will be very, very dangerous if a team like Howl is able to make just that one successful send, rotate, and win a game from a central position where they thrive in the defensive spots. They just haven't been able to find one yet. There's still a lot to be worried about for the teams towards the top 8 right now.
Yeah, it still means DA and Navi is kind of in that they want like 5-10 more points at this point here, Toby.
Yeah, it's starting to be pretty difficult if you're sat 6th through 10th. There's definitely a amount of spots available starting to show themselves.
Right. And of course, 4 more games to go here.
Nisam čuo, ali lako će se vratimo, brate moj.
And we're going to have a little bit of a wild card in terms of Taco up next here. Are you excited for that, Saga?
Oh, I am very much excited for
it.
It's such a wild ride. Again, a new map being added, just the way that teams are picking up their loot spots and rotations, and the fact that there's just so limited options when it comes to crossing the river. If we do see a little bit of the river in play in this game, oh yeah, it's going to be chaos.
Yeah, well, are you excited for Taco as well here, Toby?
Oh, it's amazing. Always is. Love the variety.
Honestly, in this case here, I gotta say, I love that we end on 3 Wrangle. It's the most consistent in terms of the players' performance. They know what they can expect, but then again, it's also dangerous for those teams in the mid pack, because you're gonna have those teams in the very top Saga, or your FaZe, your Entropic, your Christian Mark, your Ascend. Be confident, be secure in how they play, and they're gonna get those points there. So there's gonna be less points for everyone else in the mid pack, kind of fending for the last scraps.
Yeah, but you also have to hope that we're not going to see 3 more military island zones, and we are going to see a little bit of Toby's special variety TM. As much as it would be great to see another Ascend player pick up 10 kills from the observatory tower, I think it would be at least fair if we gave somebody else a chance.
All right, guys, we're going to go to a short break. We have 4 more games to go here for the upper bracket, and when we get back, we're going to have a Taco match ready for you.
Pa malo je palo na pamet, brate, da su prejebali sve. Na troni sam ušao godinama, brate. A ne znam ni da Discord, da sam izašao od Discord.
That was the advantage of having that big vert nade. Will they be able to take him here? It goes a little far. Wait, yeah.
Wow. Takes a little longer for it to spread, and they're just exactly in it. Just exactly in it. Friel with it.
Was able to pick up a bit of that up too. So now Entropic actually, it's got not too bad a compound. Exalt getting absolutely slammed here against all of these nades coming on. BBL just trying to do some big damage against the Molotov goes down as well. That'll be a finish off on someone. No, actually, behind the something.
Michael doesn't have the warfist, and yet he's just going full aggro mode. I like it. Finds one more knock now as well. Not sure what Exalt was expecting. I mean, everyone knew where they were once they started shooting at the mid-air, and they've just kind of thrown it down in a dip. Now they're getting help from up above as Lookerooks is able to take out Michael on approach, and now
Mona Twitch, na PUBG.
Oh, a third player opportunity. We'll take that for free. Mike, I'm not sure if that's going to help a whole lot, but they have 3 FaZe players currently going without vehicles and weapons, and there you go. One finds one, but no, the run over instantly after, and he gets the gun picks. So Vex, does he get to go away from it? No, he doesn't! No. You can see Onin now is coming over the ridge line to help out. He was far away from the team, but now able to regroup and get back together. Teams does manage to find one, gets the second one as well, as it turns on to Lou.
Batulins looking for an opportunity here. A nade might come on through here from Batulins, but likewise, James realizes where Spiro is. Sends a nade on the way over towards that car. Does it actually go far enough? No air burst before actually hitting the location he needs. It's going to be Batulins on the off angle here. A finish off on Lou. Do they find an opportunity here against them? I don't think they know exactly on Batulins' angle, but they do certainly know on Spiro's. Here it comes.
Wait.
Oh
I thought they hadn't added mortars to competitive yet.
Well, none of the pros want it, and well, yeah, they're. Oh my!
He just keeps on going. I mean, not bad. As when you're in that dip, he's like, guys, give me a nade. I got the angle down. Give me a nade. I know how to find them. Everyone is running over. Or maybe they just want to do it themselves. He's like, guys, so
My turn.
Ein Unterhand.
My turn.
That's all. I don't know what I'm saying. I was just trying to make an impression.
Oh
until the guy
my!
gets it. Welcome to Mortars.
Welcome to our new patch report, where we'd like to introduce the exciting changes coming your way in update 24.1. One of our main goals this update is to allow for a wider variety of gameplay based on both individual skills and teamwork. Let's start with tactical gear. We aim to elevate it from optional to an indispensable part of your arsenal. To achieve this, we're adding tactical gear crates to your inventory at the start of each game. Inside these crates, you'll find a variety of tactical gear to choose from, which once chosen will be equipped to the 6th tactical gear exclusive slot in your inventory. Keep in mind, however, that once equipped, the tactical gear you chose will be with you until the end of the match. Wondering what happens to it upon death or recall? Or what about the world spawn tactical gear? All of these answers can be found in our new patch notes. Meanwhile, we're also enhancing the usability of repair kits by combining them into a single versatile item that can repair helmets, vests, and vehicles. The revamped repair kit comes with 10 uses and also introduces a new feature, the ability to detach tires and attach them to the vehicle of your choice. So gear up and remember, a well-oiled vehicle and a spare tire could be the difference between a chicken dinner and becoming the enemy's main course. Vikendi also hasn't been left out of our update plans. We've made some changes to address areas where players have struggled the most by adding some extra covers and ridges. Additionally, we've made improvements to the Blizzard Zone, cable cars, crowbar interactions, and comeback BR features based on your valuable feedback. We've got more exciting news. Prepare to put your skills to the test, as Vikendi will be joining the rank pool in the new rank Season 24. To spice things up, we've also added jammer packs and mortars to the rank mode. Also, before you head out, don't miss our new Survivor Pass, Splash Royale, and many more exciting updates included in patch 24.1. Make sure to check out the patch notes for all the details. And we'll see you on the battlegrounds.
Welcome back to PGS2 EMEA qualifiers here. I'm joined by, of course, Toby and the body double of Kylaris, the bunt and stunt body double, of course, of Kylaris here, Rick Sharples, aka Saga. How are you doing, Saga?
Damn, you really got me with the full name. If you hit me with the Richard, I would have been really upset.
Yeah, I know, that's why I didn't.
How could you possibly be upset after the games we've seen? Na'Vi with a huge big dub on the board, and we'd love to see that given the way that things have been a little up and down for Na'Vi recently. Not the case here anymore.
Toby, how are you feeling so far? We've got 4 more games to go. We're going straight into a wildcard kind of map here with Takeo.
Yeah, I'm liking it. Again, it's honestly, it's pretty impressive to me. Maybe I'm just a little post-traumatically stressed from last time we implemented a new map to competitive PUBG. But I have been very, very pleasantly surprised with how well Takeo has played. I know people were worried about, you know, this and that and not enough cover and all that. I really think players have got around it well, because they always do. They always find cover where there is none and find ways to play it. And honestly, I'm thoroughly enjoying the Takeo games we've seen so far.
After the update and the iteration news, the iteration here of Takeo, I think it's decent. There's still a few open areas, and I'm kind of excited to see what's going to happen once we are going to be playing that out here, Saga.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of, should we say, high-frequency end-game positions as well that the more that a team gets to play it, then the more they get to know it. But there is always going to be outliers, strange zones, like, for example, just an urban ending in Hosan. That's one I haven't seen before, so it's really interesting to see how teams have to adapt on the fly. I mean, there was even teams like, I think it was Afterult, who came in on one side and then rotated all the way out to come back on the other side. And it was chaos, it was hectic, and it's a lot of fun. But as much as we get all the practice in before PGS2, the better.
Yeah, for sure. And also, I think what's the players are the most worried about is obviously the lack of bridges, or still there's some bridges, but the lack of bridges and the amount of water up to that northwestern island there, Toby.
Yeah, it is tricky to maneuver through, but then again, I mean, the 2 times that I've seen games end on the Northwestern Island, the crossing themselves haven't been the biggest issue. Now, having said that, it was during the previous tournament, the rotation, where the spawn rate of emergency pickups was that much higher. So I feel like teams, they had a easier way to maneuver. But even with that, I mean, we only saw 1 set of bridge camps because these bridges don't really invite for bridge camps that easily, mainly because the cover around the bridges is so little. So it's hard to set up and kind of prevent teams from crossing over as well.
All right, we're about soon to get ready here with match number 3 of today, the last day of upper bracket here for the PGS2 EMEA qualifiers that qualify you to the main event for PGS2 at the Gamers 8 Festival in Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, in the middle of August. This is going to be Tego, guys.
It's gonna give James the pleasure of so quickly, Saga, come up with some sort of fun saying about Tego. Go.
Got a British one for you. You know when you've been Tego'd. Any UK gang will get that one. Woo! Love me a nice obscure little reference. But this is one of those flight paths that, again, not too much towards the south. A little bit of variety. Love to see it. And it cuts them pretty much directly through the Northwestern Island. And actually, the flight path is about 50% on that island. So yeah, the teams that are dropping towards the river, towards the crossings, are going to be profiting.
Now, I have been blessed with none of the games that I've casted on Tego so far having ended in the exact same spot. Yes, some have been within a kilometer or so, but that's just the RNG of circles, and you can't be too mad about that. What I have yet to see, though, is the southeast. Down towards Ouyang, down towards Kangyong. That area of the map, I would love to see an endgame in, because not only do I not, from a competitive perspective, know that area of the map too well, but I don't think the players do either. So it would be kind of fun, like in and around where Entropic is right now, maybe a bit north of that, like east of where Gustav is. That could be pretty interesting. Having said that, let's hold the thought for a second, as Howl and Solo want to battle this one out in the very center of the map.
Well, if there was ever going to be a team who's going to scrap you for a spot in the center, you could probably assume it's going to be Howl. Typically, they'll do it couple of minutes in after all getting in vehicles, but now Schofield's just proning his way across through a bush with an AK in hand, and it might work out. He might get an off angle as Bombilova behind the rock, might not expect it. Ruin just tapping down from distance, just keeping them suppressed, forcing them into an unfavorable position.
Is that 3 players with UMPs? I believe it might be. I think I saw 3 of them, and that's just what are the odds. But we'll see if Sancho and Bumble come up victorious here. I do like Schofield's off angle as well, because you'd have to imagine that the one route to kind of transition up towards where Howler currently sat would have to be past Schofield. But we'll see if he gets caught out or spotted in the open here, if it gets to chill out behind that bush for a little while longer. Priel essentially doing the exact same thing, but on the opposite side of the compound.
Well, you've got to be a little careful, though, for Schofield, because, I mean, the Wu have heard these shots. They're making a move. They're getting up on the hilltop behind. If Ibby has a scope, he will spot the man just lurking in that bush if he looks towards it. And Schofield has no helmet. He's one-tappable. Yeah. Sancho, not quite so much with the 3 gear. I hate to see that on our drop.
I mean, I guess when you're Howl, obviously seeing as you're getting hot dropped, or that you're actively hot dropping somebody else, you are mainly concerned with the parachutes of the opposition up close, but you also must have seen Wu land close on the west side, Face land close on the east. So they should assume, I mean, being as smart as they are, that there are the threat of third-party teams coming in if you can't finish the fight fast enough. So actually a bit surprised that Scope has not opted to get back to the compound yet. But as you're saying, maybe he's just in one with the bush and waiting this one out.
Full commitment. He says, I'm holding this angle. I'm doing nothing else, whether we win or lose the game. For Wu, this full commitment on the push is an interesting one. It could either be a sign of, okay, boys, we've got to knuckle down. We've got to get some kills and points on the board. Or it could just be, you know what? Let's just go out there, practice our gun mechanics, practice our team fighting, and prepare ourselves for the lower bracket. Could work either way, but, you know, sometimes when you just lose sight of some of the sensibilities and just play a little more aggressive and recklessly, it can strangely work in your favor.
James is here all alone for FaZe. Now he's starting to shoot, and I think Wu is showing. Wait, oh, there you go. I love the fact that our servers called that. Chris was like, wait, there's a guys, there's what? Like he scoped on him, scoped out, then scoped back on again. Like, guys, there's a guy in the bush. Just shoot him. It's like a free point. And they look at the leaderboard, go, well, we have 18. Maybe it's about time we get some free points. And Schofield, well, he falls. Same thing happening on the other side. And now Howl down to just 2 as Solo. They wave out of the compound, go, thanks for the help. Or actually, they whale drive while prone, I guess. And Boo backs off, Face goes up on the other side, and just like that, Howl just kind of dealt with.
Yeah, again, it's another rough start for Howl. This time, they didn't even get a chance to get in a vehicle and make it rough for themselves. It just started off from the parachutes. They didn't really get aggressive enough. Maybe Schofield could have been a little more active when there was a couple out in the open behind rocks. Possibly, I mean, you can look at it in a lot of ways, but all said and done, Howl is down to 2, and they still can't get out of this compound because FaZe and Woo are still lurking, and there's still no damage dealt to Solo either. So it looks like this might be the end of days for Howl on Taker.
Yep, sure could be, and they have to make their way all the way up towards the west side too. Not exactly making any, or making the situation any easier for them. We talked about the bridge crossings. Most teams, or not most, but most of the teams that were in and around the river have already managed to make their way on up and across. The issue now comes for the next kind of set of teams to transition over. We do have the double-decker bridge out on the west side. I've actually seen 2 teams rotate at the same time without seemingly noticing one another before. So a bit of a fun change of architecture in a PUBG map there. But overall, I mean, the bridge crossings haven't really caused the biggest issues so far. We've seen, I think it was DA and Afterall during the rotation. They were fighting on the bridge, but DA already now have crossed on over, and they're pretty comfortably sat on the other side. I wouldn't expect there to be too much other commotion around the bridges, as I said, simply because look at the cover that the people camping here would have. If you're sat on the bridge here where Afterall just crossed, just ready and waiting, I mean, there isn't any cover, and it's the same thing. I know it wasn't the same river, but still, the bridge is up there. There's no cover around and no compound right next to the bridge to make it easy for you to camp it.
It really seems a lot like the teams that do drop close to the river. They tend to go for a split with at least one player on the opposite side. Not so much for camping purposes, but just to secure themselves a safe passage should the zone be decisive as to which side of it will be going, as it has here. There's no way this is not going to the Northwest Island, so teams like Twisted Minds, who drop in Palace and maybe have fishing camp, they made an early rotation and they're happy with their spot. And Tropics, does that even, are we considering that a drive-by? That was kind of just sitting in the passenger side of my best friend's ride, trying to holler at Na'Vi. Didn't quite work out.
I don't mind it, though.
Yeah, he's had to call the boys to come back, actually, because he's being chased.
And that's the thing, right? I was going to say I don't mind it for Entropic. I mean, they are very passive with the new approach. Not that it's not being successful, because they're currently set in second place, but I like the idea of them going out there. You know, not going past us, and that just allow everyone to control. The issue is sometimes you take the fight to a team that you shouldn't have, and this time around it might just be Na'Vi. Found 1, found 2. Let's see if they find the third as Nate up tries to dodge and weave to get to safety. Is he able to get out of here alive with that HP? Melman missing crucial shots. Could have been a third down, but here damage is already done, and Nate does finally fall as Melman finds him. So just like that, take a few shots on your right arm forward.
Unlucky.
Just like that, the team is white.
Now, there's a question of whether this was intentional for Entropic, knowing when Na'Vi would have dropped and seeing a team in rotation. They say, hey, this is a team that we would prefer to not have to face off against in the grand final. So if we can cause them some problems, let's just full commit to it. Again, Entropic probably over the cutoff point for top 8, so they have the freedom and liberty to be a little more reckless and a little more aggressive and maybe target some high priority teams to take out of the lobby, but sometimes that kind of action can backfire.
Yeah, which it very clearly did here. I think Na'Vi, are they going to continue forward, or are they going to just wrap around here and try and see if they can find Lucarooks? I'm not sure. Seems like they are. They're fishing. They're looking for him. They're not letting Entropic get away with this one.
A lot of bushes to check. I'm sure they'll sniff him out eventually. Few options for what Lucarooks can actually do. Might be able to catch Uber, though. I'm not sure if he has a vehicle right next to his rock. He's got the deployment shield. That's just about it. But he's given away his position, and eventually He should be cleaned up, but can he take him one down with him? No, he cannot. Alia from distance will take care of him.
Yeah, easy peasy. In the meantime, over towards Solo and Howl, the fight that will never end. It seems Ruin now falls as well. So Lhasa, single player left alive with just 3 for cover up against the entirety. Solo ain't exactly a place you would want to be. But for Solo, I mean, sat currently in 13th. Really want to start climbing up this leaderboard with just 3 more games to play after this one.
Gotta get whatever you can.
Yeah.
Laza, last man standing, so said I'm not sure he's loving the idea of taking the fight with the shotgun, but Sancho might be more happy to do it on a drive-by. He's been tagged down low enough that Laza could take him out in the slowest vehicle in the map, but never mind. Sosed gets it done with the M4 and Howl. It's a 0-point game for them. They cannot afford to have any more of those when we get into a wrangle.
Yeah, it's not looking good for how. As I say that, I mean, of course, still very doable, but 34 points this many games into it, not what you would expect from a team that played as well as they did, both during the rotation and also, of course, coming up victorious during PC Spring. Circle shifts down towards the south, centering up in and around Yepa and Twisted Minds and the hillsides there. We will, of course, eventually shift away from water, but right now that's not really a big factor, and also the water as a whole ain't really a lot of it either. So this one is going to be interesting, though, as we're centering up in kind of an open area. It's going to be way more open area ending, unless, of course, if we shift up towards Godok or Palace come the next 2 circles.
Maybe this is one of the places, the parts of the map where people did have a couple of concerns just about how it would play out necessarily. There's plenty of ridges, but the hills are much less harsh than they are on a map like Miramar, where if you're saying you're playing a ridge, you can probably crouch in it and be fine. But here, it's prone or nothing, baby, and a team like Twisted Minds with a split across 2 segments of potential high ground, yeah, they're gonna be on your case.
But I'm going to go out and say this. A PUBG map needs difficult to play areas of the map in order for it to be relevant. I mean, we just had a game on Miramar where all they had were hay bale stacks and a mountain where they were getting shot from. That ain't exactly perfect area of the map either, right? And here, you have trees, you have rocks, you have cover, actually. And there ain't that one team that can sit 500 meters up high and see everything. So I'd say, I mean, yes, there might be open areas, but those open areas make for a good map.
Well, Twisted Minds will come under that first bit of pressure. It's Lou on the opposite side of this ravine. He has no angle towards this. Those ridges are working in favor of Exalt, but they're also just funneling grenades down in towards them. Artix, a little bit of damage from one, but it's Lou on the drive-by from distance who pulls up behind Feiris, sits him down, and Exalt just get completely wiped. A doozy contributes a headshot, and that's more than enough.
Yep, and this is where a lot of these fights have been taking place on our takeover matches already, and now do again in and around the roadsides where there's a bit of a gutter on either side, allowing for teams to fight across. We see it time and time again in on Miramar as well, in similar fashion, kind of roadside battles. But this one, I don't think, I mean, I wouldn't expect that Ascent's Ops to cross over.
I would be surprised if they were even allowed to do it. It was question mark third partying into the fight, picked off the final player of Exalt, and then from all the way in the distance, those little blue dots way over there, they actually got the drop onto Mika as well, who has thankfully fallen back into the compound, but that's a car that they're not going to be able to retrieve at least safely, and especially now that Na'Vi have made their entrance over the southwestern side onto the northwest island over that double bridge that you were talking about earlier. Now they're going to be throwing their name into the ring for any teams who want an engagement in some of this area.
Braxco just letting BBL know that there's no reason for them to look in this direction. If they do, they will be met by bullets. But of course, they heard the commotion, they saw the knocks and the kill feed, and BBL, well, right now they're set in top 8, sure, but they ain't really guaranteed yet either at 47. They want to get every free point they possibly can, and this might just have been one of them had they been down here 30 seconds earlier. Next circle pops, and well, I guess BBL don't have to go anywhere.
Yeah, they'll be more than happy with that. Again, some of those little ridges along the roadsides in the fields, it'll do. Klib is there. He's actually got a little bit of extra cover in the form of an airdrop crate that it's not going to be there every game, but you'll be more than happy to take it while it is. Na'Vi, you can see them just on the left side of the big map making a move, going a little direct towards Ascend.
They should have heard the shot. I mean, of course, Na'Vi did rotate in very late, so it might just be bad luck. Now they see one Millman. Oh, headshotted as well on approach. That is just worst timing possible. Good thing for him is he gets to live with the scare. Gets to back off. And for Na'Vi, I guess I was wrong in saying that they should know, because they're only now approaching the north side of the river here. So playing it slow, playing it careful, and luckily for them, keeping 4 alive.
Thankfully had the covering fire just to make sure that there was no follow-up on that initial headshot, so they'll be keeping Mel in action. I mean, if he got knocked on that side of the road, there was no retrieving him, so they did manage to get him back and in safe hands. Twisted Mind still holding on to this position with Lou on the southeastern side of the zone, very separated as a solo, but no one putting any pressure on for the time being.
No, Na'Vi just taking a few shots, trying to figure out what their approach is going to be. And maybe, I mean, with a lot of teams, I say a lot of teams, Wu really the only ones down here now with Solo approaching too. If Na'Vi can hold back Wu long enough to force a fight between Wu and Solo, that would be, I mean, perfect third-party opportunity kind of established on their own down here.
He's just getting completely crunched. You've had to make a bit of a play, and this is one of those open areas that doesn't have the cover that you require. That little bit of high ground, the rolling hill, is enough for Batulins to find an angle down below. Jeems picked off. The smoke came just a little too late to prevent the flush. Effects can do nothing but loot the rest of the utility of his teammate's corpse.
But also just one of those open areas where, I mean, you would never see anyone stand out in the middle of the open on a angle. You go, oh, why is he doing that? No. But that's because we now know all the areas and what you're visible to when you're looking at it. Let's see this 1v4 jousting event as Eevee spots an entire team go past him. Somehow it goes completely undetected, or maybe they heard him, but Solo just wanted to move further forward. But to go back to my point, I mean, there are so many areas now where it's going to look like a player is like, what are you doing there? But we just haven't found all those perfect dips and perfect spots to play from yet. And they, unluckily, most of the time find those spots by dying, either in them or to them.
Yeah, you gotta cop an L to learn, I suppose. Maybe look in the VOD review, look around for some better playable areas, but this isn't gonna work out for Solo. They saw FaZe lose one. Solo gonna one-up them in a negative way, maybe two-up them, as they've lost 3 different players to 3 different squads. Just couldn't find anywhere that was suitable enough to pull up, and it's just so costly. Just not knowing this area of the map to the same extent, it's so dangerous.
Are we going city ending again? Is that what this circle is alluding to? If this next one hard shifts northeast, the game is just rolling. So well, let's not take that for granted. Let's not assume the worst. There's now Wu and Foot taking a fight here. Both the teams desperate need for points. Both the teams wanting to come out victorious. AHC already fallen. EB on his knees, but should be resible. As I say that,
holding the low ground. They're coming through again. We already talked about them, and if we do get the urban ending, they'll be pretty disgusting. But for now, it's enough to force Vard off the cover of the rock, and a quick peek around the side. Cleaned up for the Wu.
Yeah, FaZe eliminated as well. That's on BBL's hands as they find them. T-Bone Beamy. I mean, they must be aware that it's a 2v2. Yep, they're committing to this fight. They're pushing over, peeking forward, finding Keanu instantly, and now just Quizzy left alive. But Twisted Minds, you can see in the distance there, are slowly approaching here too. So even if Twisted become victorious, they might just die instantly after. Quizzy able to find one, doesn't get the flush. Now he does get the flush in return. Still far from placement points, but this fight seems to be over.
Well, 4 points for kills is not bad at all. It's not going to be enough to close the gap, and for Foot as well, they're going to claim the exact same, but they're both down to a solo, and as you say, Twisted Minds is setting up the firing line to prevent either of these solos making it in towards the zone. And, well, Twisted Minds, they know that that's the team behind them. They do not want Foot to claim any more points, and they need points themselves, so it's a perfect win-win for them.
Let's see now. It's a doozy. Tries to wrap on over question mark also. Kind of in similar fashion to how Na'Vi were playing it before. Trying to find their approach. Just kind of poke a little. See if they can find a hole in the wall. Breach through somewhere. In the meantime, on that same edge, Ascent trying to decimate Na'Vi. It's down to just Brex on Killiakai, though it ain't gonna be easy. Now, oh my lord, question mark, just full speed sends it into afterhold.
I feel like I've seen this one a couple of times before, but not on this map yet. Klim, caught in the corner, actually, survives on a single little bit of hit points, and that grenade might just get him done with, but elsewhere, it's a very similar scene. Just on the opposite
ciao, let's go!
Dealing with Ascend, but oh man, now that they've just got to cross the road themselves, there's more to clean up.
Šta ima batice? Malo gledamo već turnir, malo naši u miru prerano.
Oh, is he gonna drive into a nade?
Zvao sam Sneša, ide u banju, gori Soko, gori banja. Znaš već kako ide kad on radi. Opet DA će pobedi. DA nekako ima sve sreću i će proći 100%. Sima kod tebe Mili.
If he wasn't full HP, 91 damage. If he wasn't full HP, he would have been dropped, but he's had a chance to heal, and he's caught Mel as he's been forced across the road. He knows Uber has to come over eventually at some point, so victory from the jaws of defeat maybe for Ainen, but it's maybe a hollow victory. There's not going to be too much more. He'll get a couple extra points, but making an entry into another urban ending. I mean, I think we must have jinxed it when we started talking about how good the blue zone nades are in buildings, but
Navi uđe u top 5, 70, 71, 72, 75.
He's got a tough road ahead, but there's plenty of space on the west.
I DA, BBL i Virtus Pro svi su sad živi.
Doing a kind of a pseudo city ending here with a half split. Funny thing this time around is we don't really have the players left for a proper city ending, but they've all died before even making their way up here. So it's just 6 teams left at phase 5. Not something you see too often in a competitive game of PUBG, but of course, pretty chaotic approach for the majority of teams in trying to make their way up here.
Big nade from Clib, almost a full 100 meters onto Perfectix as just pulling up into the shack, trying to find some sort of avenue into the zone. Should be able to be revived unless he's got another one in the pocket. If there's a blue zone grenade, that would be big problems, but it doesn't look like he's got one to work with, so they should be able to grab the revive. Sparrow and Lou have sort of leapfrogged ahead into the zone, but they're actually under pressure now. Smoke Wall has found an angle towards it, and Clib with the re-knock with the grenade as well. Oh, Twisted Minds. One up on either side.
They saw them cross, and I think because they got the knock on Lou as well, they're figuring that they can actually commit to. There's so much utility in the hands of BBL. They took out Face as well. I think they got some loot off of that too. And again, I mean, BBL, they want the points. They're looking good right now, but 54.
Ma nema copyright, niko neće me prijavi.
Knowing they have a solo player set on the other side.
Ekipicu za counter. Misliš da nađem 5 igrača ili da igramo zajedno? Pošto ovaj turnir, ja mislim do 11 da traja, a sad su me zvali da igram posljednja 2 gejma s Karims.
I mean, looking at the teams that are still alive, all the ones that are quote-unquote safe are already eliminated, so huge points available for every single remaining team. I mean, maybe Smoke Wall, maybe Yepa, it might be a little bit too far gone, but unless this is the start of a miraculous run of games towards the end of the upper bracket, it could still work out in their favor for anyone who's still left standing. But BBL and DA are the ones that need to hold on to their lead. DA have been so passive this game, all the way up north, completely avoiding every engagement, and look at the zone they've been rewarded with.
No,
I was just gonna say they wrapped around the northern side of it, and well, if you're like, oh well, yeah, we got another one. Oh well, we got another one. Let's just, I mean, you ain't gonna die on purpose just because you get first.
Ali da ne spadne da sam ti obećao i samo mi kaže da li igraš Face It, pošto ja nemam ono podešeno, treba nešto matično da se jebao da bi igrao Face It, anti-shit neće da radi, tako da nisam to dirao. Nešto save boot treba se skida, nisam teo to da diram.
And there is
matchmaking
in the zone for them to make a push up towards the west themselves. They've only got one vehicle left to do it, but Toolins is already off on foot and hasn't seemingly been spotted by anyone. So there is still some position available. Doesn't look particularly like high ground, but a hefty ridge that might be somewhat beneficial. Yepa just looking to sweep around the northern road of Godok and make a push into the zone. They're going to hear a whole lot of shots just to the south of them. And actually, they get caught out on the cross. Denderloss sat down by Lyra.
Yep, so far during this tournament, DA has been very good at kind of finishing off the games where they've been given opportunities.
To li si dobio CS dvicu, bato? Da li si te sreći? Da ja te dodam, ili me ti mene dodaj, ček, vidim koda ti pošaljem. Evo ti kod.
Have yet to really get that foothold. They do have. Oh, is that a ridge they can actually
Da li si te sreće da si dobio?
Big enough of a ridge, or is it just the rock that Batulins has?
Prvi dan.
Now there's enough of a ridge line there. They can work with this. They can work with this.
A ja hoću zbog itema prvo, ja imam noževi i to.
Znači,
koji izgledaju, imam...
There is a ridge over to the far west that maybe if they wanted to risk the send, but
who
knows? I mean,
sniper,
has 5 grenades, so it seems like the plan is get close as possible for Twisted Minds and just bombard anyone who's in your way. But I'm not sure there'll be anyone left by the time anyone has to leave the city.
True. Clip now. Finding Surfy as well as, I mean,
Mada mogo bi da mi daš pravim content. Snimam klipove kako igra. Tražim bagove.
They really want to get something going, but 0 kills. Again, similar fashion to how DA came to this end game, just kind of sitting around. But now that the opposition has arrived, you better be ready to start clicking some heads.
Oh.
This gun is not engagement. That is way too many bullets. A Fright can't do anything. He will be dropped. Surfy's got an LMG of his own, but it's infinitely inferior to what Rustin Mar's bringing to the table. But he could still do some damage in up-close engagements, should the situation be right. Shiplist will be revived for now. Zerfy's just holding the wall. He could hold it for days with the amount of ammo that he has, but no push to come through, so nothing yet to hold.
The competition of who's forced to reload first between Rustin and Mar. We'll see who gets the better of it. Blue zone nade lopped on forward. Will force BBL to maneuver at least a little bit, I would imagine, further north as the circle once again swings west. It's actually going to keep Twisted Minds in. So they get to sit around. Curious to see if any other team is going to up and try and wrap out into the field. Maybe Yepa will do that rather than take the fights. DA issue is, with how they're currently positioned, it's going to be very hard to make the crossing over. Actually, I'm loving what we're seeing from Atralius right now. He's trying to go out to prevent just that from happening.
Yeah, huge move. That is a massive off angle. And look at Huth as well, holding the close range. So if they do manage to cross the road with a smoke wall, with just lucky timing, whatever it is, he's just going to one pump them and sit them down immediately. But BBL looking to do the exact same onto smoke wall. Grenade coming through. Blue zones in effect. There's going to be little space to play.
Somebody blue zone nade slapped on in. For now, feel able to dodge and leave. For Kasu, nap, not gonna happen. Surfy taken down. Kasu, pull in here as well. As the blue zone nades alive inside of house of miserable hell.
I think they just threw 4 blue zone grenades. There was barely any space left. But yeah, I mean, he managed to find it. Shipless just about survived, but can't survive a headshot from the MG3. Rustin Mar will provide. And look at that now. Top 8 for DA, BBL, and Twisted Minds, and a massive opportunity to increase the gap on everyone who's looking to chase.
I mean, really, really big, especially also considering that we have, top 5 eliminated already. So for both BBL and Twisted Minds to mitigate that gap up to the top, really, really big game for them here. Potentially, we'll see how this one pans on out. Hewitt spots one over the top. Alderman headshot it. Put a bit of distance to it. Doesn't do that much damage. Second time around, though, Lyra actually from the side steals it away. And what a performance he has had throughout this tournament so far.
Yeah, it's been definitely a massive performer for DA, but Rustin Mar again. I mean, we can't talk positively about anyone. Rustin Mar just deletes them immediately. 1,000 damage again. Still got 38 bullets to work with. He can empty that in about half a second. Huth, you better hope the shotgun comes on point.
This weapon was created with the purpose of being loud and shooting a lot of bullets, not necessarily to be precise with them. But Rustin Mar making it look as precise as any weapon has ever been. On his approach here, still 38 bullets to work with. Hewitt, though, has a shotgun. We'll see what he can make of it. Not a whole lot damage done to clip. 3 HP, level 3 helmet. Really working out for him. And now, Twisted Minds. Oh, instantly Michael swings on him. This is the game that BBL needed, for sure.
Yeah, that's a huge knock as well. I mean, we mentioned earlier, Twisted Minds while they're out over here in the fields, not really pressuring too much, but their back pocket's carrying a whole lot of grenades, and I'm sure they've probably got blue zone nades in there as well. Lou has already crept close as he will possibly dare. Both BBL were able to get the knocks from distance, keep themselves safe, but this is a potentially massive off angle. If Clib gets caught with this grenade in hand, if he gets knocked, that should be an instant flush for himself and might even take Rustamar down with him.
It's all two now. When do you shoot? What is the perfect situation for you to engage in? They do get the rest, and I think that's part of the reason he didn't shoot. Don't want to attract the attention too early, but Rustamar swings on him, gets the double headshot confirmed, and Lou falls. That was the off angle. That was the ace up their sleeve. And now, against the wall. We'll see what they can do here, but 2v4 might just drive out into the blue. We'll see if that's what Batulins is opting to do. Of course, he wants to get as many points off of this as possible, but knowing what team is in front of them on the leaderboard, knowing who they're potentially giving points over to here, what are they gonna do? Nothing is to be done. Clip finds the first one, pushes forward, almost gets the second as he continues to push further in. Batulins does manage to get the knock onto Michael, but that is post more left alive in a 1v3.
Ćao, Davidče.
And unfortunately,
Ekstra
not
će
only
bat.
do they lose the off angle of Lou,
Super.
but all the grenades he was carrying with him have
Malo
gone
gledamo,
as
malo
well.
navijamo,
Sparrow
malo
is
jašemo.
running out of options very swiftly.
30 boda smo
As soon as he tries to make an exit
od
out,
8.
there's a
mesto.
whole lot of bullets waiting for him.
To je 109.
Not too much to do. Smash finds it in the end. 14
Što ok, evo BBL se upravo plasirao.
To really get the momentum going, now set up in fourth place. Huge performance for the roster who
Šta
at
ima
times have
kod
been
tebe?
phenomenal, but just overall haven't been able to consistently put up these sort of numbers.
Another one of those teams where, still took a little bit of a while to find some feet, a little bit of success in some
Winner,
lower
chicken
tier
dinner.
community type tournaments, but to finally get it looking good on the main stage at a perfect time to do so as well would mean so much for this squad.
To think that this almost became like a proper urban ending to it. It kind of did. I mean, Edge City ending, but looking at how phase 1 kind of popped, I was not seeing that coming, but the game truly wants to throw curveballs at these players today. With just 3 more games to play, you really have to make the most of any situation you're given in.
They absolutely did as well, playing it so well. Rustamar in particular, that MG3 was absolutely singing. It was singing fast. It was like rap god, but my goodness, it was hitting the keynotes and the heads as well. There's nothing you can do.
Glasati neke na live-ove, pa ne znam na live-ove koliko igram dobro, brate, ali
I love Tego, guys.
TikTok
Let's
playevi
get 6
su
Tegos a day. I'm joking.
bolesni,
We're not going to
bolesni.
go the recurvy way of putting even more crazy stuff in, but great to see BBL pull up here. And again, another case we've been talking about, guys, a double-digit win for some of those mid-pack teams, and they're going to put themselves in a fantastic situation, Isaga.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like we're repeating ourselves over and over again, but it's happened 3 times already. We've got 3 more games to go. Who's to say it doesn't just keep happening for the rest of the day?
Yeah, it's making it super rough for Twisted Minds in this case. They're going to be like 15 plus points away from the 7th team. So they're the last team that's kind of going to be in the hunt here, Dopey, for that 8th place probably.
Yeah, it's worrying, but at the same time, even when Twisted Minds doesn't come out victorious, they still manage to rack up a ton of points. They got 11 kills in the previous one. Now they come out and get a 2nd place here in this one too. So they might not come out with the wins, but they're racking up as many points as you almost possibly can without getting the wins to boot.
Yeah, 9 kills here for Navi. Saga kind of secures them a spot in the 70-point club here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I'm at the point where I'm going to start suggesting the 70-point club isn't safe, but I'll tell you what, I'm not a million miles away from it either. But Navi, again, like all they really need to do is continue to pick up a few points a game. They don't really need to go all the way to the end game. It is just the top 8 that we need, and they're going the right way about making sure it stays there.
Yeah, with 3 games to go, Toby. It's 26 points from 9th place up to 7th right now. So it's kind of like it's a really good game, or it's 2 or 3 pretty decent games to catch in. So it could be a world where we're talking like a cutoff that's maybe 72, 73, 34.
A lot higher than what we're anticipating, but then again, that's because yesterday we saw so much bunching from FaZe and from Question Mark. Today, not really the same thing happening. We're seeing new teams, mid-pack, lower mid-pack teams coming out here and really putting up big numbers. And honestly, I'm all for it. The more we see of this coming into the last match, the more teams we'll have in that race for a qualifying spot. So just keep it coming.
which also makes it even more fun, right? Because the 2nd place on question mark for 75 and all the way down to a tied 6th and 7th for 70 points for DA and Navi makes it super close. Like, they need to have 3 games where they get a few points here, Saga. Otherwise, they could be still in that danger spot if it is the teams in that mid-pack or bottom to mid-pack that is going to pull up and have a big one. Right now, Exalt, after all, has to do it. But here, the leaderboard for 3rd match here for Taker. BBL pulling up, doing 24 points.
Zvali su me da igram neke skrimove.
Looking again at the teams that are on
Poslednje
the
2 games.
full left-hand side of this, it's teams that are already pretty much safe, or at least have put themselves in a very solid position. And then the teams in the middle column is a lot of the contenders who need to stack up the points, and it just keeps making it closer and closer the further we get on.
A face safe and sound here, as we can point out, and as I said here, 75 points for question mark, and all the way down to 7th. There's only 5 points difference, so a little bit points for them, but then the huge gap comes up here. 17 points down to 8th. Twisted Mind still currently safe, and then 9 points down to Exalt and Afdol with a tie, and Foot on 38. And we know they can frag out. If they're able to frag out on just one of the games and pop it with a top placement here, Toby, they could also be a team contending for that 8th spot.
Yeah, one of the worrying things about Foot coming into this one now is, I mean, 7 placement points over what? That's 9 games played, just 7 placement points. That is just not good enough. I know they've had some technical issues here and there, but still, for Foot, a Rust that we've seen just come out plowing teams from start to finish, not like really making it look like a hard business at all. They really need to do something here in order to turn that boat around.
Yeah, they've been fragging out. Still 31 kills is pretty respectable. Like, if you look at 3rd place, only 36, right? So placements really need to come in here, Saga. And yeah, that's definitely what we're going to be probably seeing. But then again, Twisted Minds is a day 2 team, so that's scary for all the other teams chasing.
Yeah, there's a whole lot to be said about just the different ways to play the game. I mean, you can get pretty far in the game just on pure gun skill, and you can also get reasonably far on just pure survival instincts, but if you want to reach the top, you need both. And that's kind of why you're seeing a team who's picking up a lot of frags like Foot Esports, or a team who's doing a little more of the survival and not so much of the fragging like Yepa, both struggling as well.
And with BBL in this game here, Toby, I gotta say, they were so proactive with their movement all the way through. First, then they take kind of the middle where they took kind of the fields. Then they went in and they were proactive at cleaning the city. This game here was well fought and hard fought for, and they pocketed early on by being so proactive with how they moved.
I mean, it's clear to see what the game plan was. Let's just take every single fight we can from a distance. They were never really in any up-close threats until they had the final fight against DA in the city proper. So they engaged on, tried to engage on after all down in the early game, backed off when Navi forced them back. Then they take out Face in the open, then they wrap around the backside of that, hold off, at least take out 2 of the Twisted Minds players. Really smart approach to the game, something I want to see them do more of when it's not just kind of on the games that are on the line, but for them to continue to do so many times in one match here in an area of the map that we're all kind of unfamiliar with. That was very impressive.
Yeah, and with the Circle doing a little bit of a switcheroo, going back to Go Duck, there was a lot of teams on that southern side, Saga, that got caught. I counted like 6 or 7 teams that were on that southern side, while there's only like DA and some of the other teams that was in the city kind of trying to go through, trying to get a safe side, and then they went north.
Yeah, as Toby said in the cast, very different to the urban ending that we had in yesterday's matches, where, you know, by phase 8 there was still 8 or 9 teams left standing. This time the vast majority were already cleaned up, so the teams that were in the city were pretty competent at holding down their entrances, making sure that no one else could have a chance of getting in some sort of entry. But BBL coming up from the northern side really just found their way in, and once Rust and Mar got that MG3 in hands, there was nothing you could do up close.
Yeah, I guess that's one thing we've been preaching for way too long. Don't go into the city unless you know it's going to end there. In this case, nobody knew, Toby. They were all teams that were like, oh, damn, we should have went there. It was open. They're going to look at the map stream later, and they're going to be like, there's only this one team?
Yeah, exactly. It's I think especially when it's on a new map too, teams just don't want to go there because you barely even know the layouts of the city proper, because you haven't had to fight through them yet. So makes perfect sense that a lot of teams are very, very hesitant to try and go into the cities when they're not completely sure whether it's gonna end there or not.
All right, guys, we are halfway through the last day of the upper bracket here for the PGS2 EMEA qualifiers. We're going to be going into 3 ranking games, and right now it's only Twisted Minds. It doesn't look too safe. So guys, take it away here to the Grass Masters.
Thank you.
Pre ovoga sam bio na... kako se zove, na Trova, tamo sam imao puno, 50-ak.
That's where it's gonna go down for the next 3 games as we once again take to the battlefield, and we saw a bit of commotion in the previous game between Howl and Solo that we didn't see yesterday. Now I'm starting to think, are we gonna see any fighting here? Are we gonna see FaZe get chased down by Na'Vi? Well, with this plane path we sure won't, but would this be the time now where some of those teams Saga that are already solidified in the top?
Mislim, od da sam znao da je zanimljivije da se istrimo sve, ali nisam znao, tako da
there's definitely some high
sve
value
je tamo.
targets that are still looking to chase. I mean, the likes of Foot Esports probably will have a bit of a bounty on their heads coming into this one. Maybe not so much to the point where anyone's going to hot drop and risk their game based on it, but if you see that Foot is fighting close to you, you may well want to send someone out to look for a third party and just make sure that they do have to make the lower bracket run, where, who knows, anything could happen.
Now, I like to think
Pa neko je sad rekao gore u chat da kao Trovo vraća ono bronzu $120. Mislim, $120 nije vredno.
I have a question for you.
Da opet uradi neku glupost.
Do you think, with how, I mean, think of 2018, 2019 PUBG, where we at the time thought that was the best PUBG could be in terms of the meta, in terms of what teams did and how they rotated and whatnot. Do you think we are at peak PUBG in terms of the meta, in terms of how teams play, or is there still things to be done? Are there still new things to be found, like new ways to do things in PUBG that we've still yet to figure out?
Even if we bar the addition of new maps and the new
well, of
tools,
course, those are always going to change
even
things,
barring
but just overall skill and like game mechanical level.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's so much variation, so many variables, and so much adaptability that has to come through. That, you know, if you are a team like Twisted Minds who was pioneering some crazy strats like Batulin's up on those rocks, everyone's doing that now. Back in the early days, Ents was the ones pioneering playing from the edge and like making these wild, crazy rotation sends, and a lot of teams, that is kind of their identity now. Ascend typically being one of them, but this time they're just straight down the middle, so they'll be more than happy. A little bit of adaptability on show right there. So I suppose by the end of this game, we'll find out whether or not it's good to switch things up every now and then.
Now, you're really politically correct, but I'm going to call you out on it. You didn't answer my question.
True.
Do you think we're at peak PUBG performance level now?
I'll tell you what.
Or is there a level we have yet to unlock? Maybe a level we don't even know what is before we see it happen.
See, that's why it's so impossible to not be political, because if we don't know what
you
it is, how am I supposed to tell you
what is your Saga gut? What is Saga's gut?
I'll tell you what. We've had
samo se javi slobodno uđi na Discord.
And EMEA
Stalno
win
nam
a global
fali.
championship.
Možeš
So,
ti igraš s nama.
Have we really hit the peak unless we see
Slobodno
APAC
uđi na
get a dub
Discord,
as well?
Oh wow,
So,
that's where we took it.
You told me no APAC.
That is where we took it. Okay. I thought you were gonna do it. If NA can win it, everyone can win it, sort of joke. But
no,
but
we peaked in 2017 in that case.
Wow. Okay. A lot of memes coming in here. It's fair enough. But you know what? I think in all fairness, I think APAC is bound to get a win of some kind eventually. They've won a place in our hearts. That's a place to start. But they aren't. I don't think they're far from global. Not necessarily dominance, but
competitiveness.
Well, no, but the thing is, now we're getting more and more of the same players, the same teams from APAC, like return time and time again to these global events. And I feel like where in the beginning, pedal to the metal, YOLO, let's see what happens. When they figured out that didn't work, they still now keep that same aggressive mindset, but kind of fit it more into the global lobby playstyle. I feel like APAC is just a matter of putting a couple of good games together in the grand finals, and that first place ain't impossible to find.
It's As you say,
That's what I'll give you. That's what I'll give you, the number one APEC fan. There you go. That's
won
what
a
you
place in the hearts of many, but my Cerberus jersey still has a place in your drawers somewhere in your house. I'll start to get that
collecting
back at some point.
dust. Yeah.
Well, a VSS would be pretty embarrassing to get knocked by, wouldn't it, Thunderlost? Find that out the hard way. Kill Yakai will get it done with whatever he has to be forced to put bullets down range. It's more than enough for that man. Absolute fragging machine. And Yepa, tails between their legs, they're going to have to smoke up for the revive, and at the hands of a 9mm DMR, it's not ideal.
What does Ascent do with this knock, though? I'm kind of curious to find out. I think Braxco was trying to wrap further around, but kind of fell into the ditch.
Oh, they're pushing.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I thought he was going to wrap on it, but then he kind of crashed into the ditch and maybe couldn't really time his disengage out of it. But again, Ascent, nothing to lose here. Set at 71 currently. Might as well see if they can claim more, but luckily with a... oh, no, I'll say that too soon because there was a tree there. And okay, we're safe. Get away from that, APEC. We're trying to talk about APEC here. Don't make things exciting early on.
Yeah, they gave it... Well, yeah. We have to...
Wouldn't that be the APEC way, though? Making things exciting early on. Yeah.
Kind of maintain the reputation as the disciplined region where we have 64 players alive in Phase 5 out here, for sure. But Tulin's... Oh, I don't know. He might be looking to switch things up a little bit as well, or be switched up on. Doesn't seem to be aware that T-Bone is creeping, despite the fact that he's up on a rock. He's doing some scouting. But maybe that gives it away. If Fard's putting shots in close range, they know that something's up. And Solo, just not having the best of days, are they?
They are just
Vardic.
I mean, and the reason I feel like I have the... Okay, 8C, you don't have to do them like that. That's... Okay. You know what? If those are the shots you're gonna hit,
Solo, I'm not even gonna fall.
You know, this was not embarrassing, but this was tough enough. I mean, stop punching them. They're already dead. So I'm not gonna punch them anymore. Solo, come back strong the next 2 games. I believe in you. All the brutal honesty that I was gonna give you now, I mean, 8C just made that completely unnecessary.
Yeah, he really just get out of jail free card by just spraying him down with suppressed ace from that kind of range. But T-Bone creeping up onto Everest was eventually sniffed out, and Twisted Minds ain't having any of it. But the rest of Foot is actually already ascending their way above them. Wow. And if Twisted Minds isn't aware of this, this could be a big problem. Oh, there you go. A spray. They are in fact aware of this, and the grenades uphill is going to be difficult.
Dobar Dedic.
You'd have to imagine that... I was going to say Foot stays. I mean, I don't see a reason why they leave. Yes, they lose T-Bone, but... No, okay, with that, I was going to say if they peak that same position, it's worth sticking around for, but now that they've given it up, might as well just run off. At least up to the next level. Now they kind of put the next decision to be made in the hands of
što se krije tebe, povea Discordi.
You're more than welcome, but we'll stick around. You didn't see it, but 8C is like, I just hit a pretty good shot at 300 meters.
Pruža
so,
meni lakše naći
come at me
neki
if you wanna. I'm ready for it. My Ace 32 with a suppressor on it and a red dot.
Ave, ti ne da rečem da igraš više u igricu.
Some third-party shots from Gatka at the hands of DA that was making it a little awkward for Foot to be as aggressive as they were hoping to be, making full optimal use of the high ground. So they will be forced to just settle for turning Twisted Minds back to Everest. We'll just have to do.
Meantime now, BBL heard the commotion, don't really want any part of it, might as well just wrap around here again with...
A tako mi je prvi put iz auta izvadio, mislim kad sam put iz auta.
Looks good, but they're
Koje
1
ste
point
mesto?
ahead of 7.
A?
And with how we've had some of these...
Što ste me zvali da igram uopšte bolje livajte. Igrate 3 men.
Today, I'm sure Navi, Twisted Minds, Exalt. I still have my hopes up for After All yet. I just haven't seen enough from them, but Foot might be able to do something. I've lost T-Bone here too. I still don't know if 71 points is going to cut it.
Ti pričaš u trećem ili ti koja ne igraš s
It's
nama?
going to be
Gledaj,
extremely
prvi
tight
put,
for sure. It would require maybe after all or Exalt or Foot to
kom
have
si ti
a
tim?
massive Erangel
Brate, ja
performance to
sam
round us out
free
to
agent.
dislodge any of those teams on 17
Free
plus,
agent.
but
Da,
it
free
can
agent.
still happen. And Tropic
On je free agent.
almost
Free
got
agent,
into a bit of a
but-
trap. Laza
Bježe ima si
loses a
Mihajlo,
couple of
koliko i
shots
nogi
before
nosi.
Ruin gets in a position where he
Jel
can
gledaš žuto?
contribute as well. But the Mad is actually going to force
Ne,
Ivas
stani,
back,
stani.
and Ruin does manage to spring the trap this time.
Why does Ivers
Kakav
opt to
Mihajlo,
stay
druže?
when they
Dakle,
look
Caša ga i
far
Jurku.
down below and the rest of the
Aj,
players are leaving? I
ju.
think he might just have been caught in a
Ne,
weird
su.
position where he wanted to get into the car but saw the shots being fired towards him and then he was like, you
To je
know what?
njegova perspektiva.
I'm not gonna get
Da,
out.
ovo
I
je
might as
prvi
well see if I can
put
get
kad-
another
Dobro.
one way we can maybe
Otvori malo, otvori malo.
re-engage
Aha,
towards
čekaj,
nisi-
Circle,
nisi
towards
otvorio.
Chopsticks, towards Catcap.
Ovo
It's
su
gonna be
namjeni išli.
field
Gledaj,
ending.
sad ne smijem pucati.
Talk about, oh,
Bijelo
everything's gonna
šatora.
no cover and take, oh, la-di-di, la-di-da. Well, look at everything between Ascent, Smoke Wall, and DA and tell me that you have
Low
cover there.
ljudi.
Also,
no,
thank you,
yeah.
Mexi, for looking at the plane, because there's the player flying in it. It's Teams, again.
Well,
Well,
always good to
ne
check.
dobih.
Yeah, FaZe Clan was
Lukaruks, Lipuk,
sort of
a
setting
ne.
themselves up for this coordinated push. James being the scout from up above. He should be able to
Carihu,
move up
sviča
the
na
rest
mene.
of the squad on the
A
ground.
dobro, i
So a
ti
bit
stoji
of
duže,
a-
nisi mogao
an
bolje.
early
Dobro, nisam ništa
potential
rekao
move
za
from
ovaj,
DA.
ajde,
They saw the
oko
zone,
me
they
noku.
immediately turned back around and went back to Gatka to hold down that position.
Aj, sad gledaj koliko
Ball
su
not
bili.
quite so
Pa što
fortunate.
toliko prema...
They do have
Ma
Kasu
kaj?
holding down the wizard
Ma
tower.
kako
He
briga?
scouted out a
Hoće
free
da im
spot
koliko su
just ahead
bili
of
low.
Sen, so the rest of the team has made a push in that direction. And thankfully, FaZe doesn't have them in the line of sight. So it's going to be Exalt. That's a big pre-nade.
Yeah,
Ne promotaj
really
dok te
well
ne
time.
otvorim.
One through the building,
Evo,
one
sad
off
ću-
the
To
side
je
of it.
stisniš,
Rexy
retardiran.
nowhere to run in response to that one. And now one
A ja
goes
nakon
down, but
njegovog-
still three very potent players to face here.
Druže,
Ready and
posle
waiting.
2
Issue
sata,
now
taj- ja
becomes
nisam
that
ni stao,
Navi off the side, one a
Čekajte
piece of
za
this action
5
too.
minuta ono.
You really can't be feeding kills to Exalt right now. That's
Dakle,
one of the teams that is
Caši.
dangerously close, but
Ali-
they
Četiri za nula.
absolutely
Ali pogledaj kako se
demolish
kreće, on
FaZe
svaki
without
put tačno
even
na svu
conceding a
četvoricu
knock of
zna.
their own. But, well, immediately as soon
Au, sad
as
ga
the
vratim
fight is
nije.
over,
A mogu se
Navi are here
dostaviti.
to put their own little
Dve
spin on
glave,
things. But
druže, paus.
they're not going to overcommit.
Da,
They
pojma.
know that this fight is over, that it's not a third party anymore. It's just a
Iskreno
straight up
moguće.
push.
Da je sas,
and they don't
sas
want
je.
it.
And
Ali
that's one of the
moguće.
worrying parts of the emergency pickup, right? Because
Bili
they
su
fly on
bolji,
in,
druže.
they scout forward, they send it center with a little to
Iskreno,
no
ovdje-
info, and
ovdje ne
then
možeš
I
reći
know
da
3 of
ima
them
išta.
come via vehicles,
mogu
but
se
there's
da-
no chance
Brate,
for
to
teams
su
to
ti
really
Rusi,
scout
razumiješ,
anything.
ti
Even if they
nikad ne
haven't hurt
znaš
their
njemu
vehicles, they see
na
teams
koliko
parachute
pinga
down,
on igra.
and they go,
razumiješ.
well,
Znači,
they're
meni
probably going for this
kad
particular
me
spot,
puca
and
taj lik
Exalt is
izgleda
ready to
kao da mu
respond.
ubije iz
Also just,
metka,
I
razumiješ.
guess unlucky timing in that Exalt were
A,
just
ne,
5
ne mora
seconds
ti
ahead
biti
of
da
them
je
on
cheat.
that rotation.
U 90% slučaja bude samo veliki ping, ono, pa ti spojim metke
Very
sa speti
little
ugla, ono. ti da-
Now that a team like
Rod
what
Buggins.
Exalt can make really work in their favor in terms of getting more kills on the
Kad je
board. They
lobby
have like
znali?
Navi just to their
Well,
west, Ascend
just like-
north of them. Neither of them ideal in terms of pushing for kills. So just gonna have to wait and be patient. Hope the
Riha.
zone favors them. That's really all they've
Riha,
got
Riha.
for now, unless it does come
Ja,
down to a
bolje.
crazy
Rika svaki
send if
put
they're
kad puca
forced to
rotaciju,
make
pre
a
rano
play to
počne
try and get some
pucati.
points on the board to
Yeah.
close
Taj
the gap to
pusti još.
Twisted Minds.
Duzme
Not
100%
ideal,
pjeva.
especially given Twisted Minds'
Bukvalno ćeš
position.
direkt
If
na
the
vas.
zone favors them,
Pa
up
više treba
towards
je
just the
nokat bar
southern
jednog.
foot of
A
Everest,
mora, da.
they're in a prime real
Morali
estate
ste
to
nokat
suck
jednog.
them off this game.
For the viewers that don't get why people are running around just
Šta si
desperate
ti Dulić toliko
looting in
dugo
the middle
radio,
of the
da nismo
blue,
mogli zameniti?
that's usually because they're looking for emergency
Yeah,
pickup.
da.
They don't want to have to
To ja sam
drive
okolo
through
lika, bili ljudi
everything.
od 15 sekundi tamo
After
nismo
all,
blizu
started
mene.
look to have to go through. Guys,
Dođe
just find
za
a
lak,
working
diže
emergency pickup. We
A šta je
need to
Rika
get
onda
to the
radio?
circle in a different
Diže
fashion
lak,
than
ja.
by vehicles.
Rika je
Unluckily
odšao
for them,
nešto
seems like
nalijevo
with them going
širije.
back into the cars, they did not manage to find
Ma nismo
one.
tad znali
Meantime,
šta oni
Howl on
radi.
the
Nisu
southern
mislili
side.
da
Pa
oni
ja sam
će
tri
raditi.
puta rekao da sam
Wait
oko na
this next
kamenu
one
i
out
svi
from
tamo.
the 7 seconds until the
Ja,
Ja
third.
bi
samo
znao
jedna.
ništa, mislim da je on išao na njih.
Headshot.
Nije,
Fireball
nije ni
action.
puca druže dok
And
su se vozili.
Solo's unfortunate spree continues.
On je
as
ljudi
it's
bez dve
immediately
gume.
finished off by
Joj, što mrzim
another
ovu zonu,
party
brate.
entirely. It's
5
smash
kuće
up on
koje
the
se
high
mogu
ground.
igrati, to je to.
We'll take it out. Priel
Koji
is the
na-
last man standing. Navi, of course, didn't
Koga
need
su
to do
sad-
any extra looting. They had
Da,
an emergency
bukvalno imaš
parachute with them.
A,
Dobije
druže,
da možeš
zlu.
Is
potova, a
where
15
will
ekipa.
it
ono.
take them?
dobra,
There's a bit of a juicy 2-2 split, but no one really can tell that from the air. But
yeah,
the Woo would have been vulnerable to an aggressive play, and Solo's trying to make a play for the ball himself, but now
Dobar shift,
he's seen that, otherwise he's just gonna drive straight into a blender.
Yep, into the pit they go. As they get to safety, Priel continue further forward. And that's where his journey ends. Not able to go any further forward now. He's going to have to sit tight and wait this one out as a solo player left on the team. Rexco runs on up, wants to clear the dip altogether. And this one should go. Oh my lord.
A mi su ovi najzanimljiviji game igra. Ovdje im ruke.
Millman finds one, finds two, Rustam.
Michael prelet.
Down into it.
Nije ga trebao ni jedno play.
And somehow Navi only got one kill from that. Everyone out here.
Odlučio da umre.
Ovo je preteško kretanje. From riches to rags for BBL after a successful Tego this time. The bowl was not free.
Posljednjeg je bio Ace, jednog je bio uzeo Vu.
A šta su oni popadali okolo, jel?
Da.
Velike fuzije ušte u lobi.
U kojoj lobi be?
Lobi straha,
There's still
druže.
plenty of other teams around the edge of the zone that are eventually going to have to do something very similar to what we've just seen from BBL and just hope that it goes better for them.
I think a lot of the names they just got themselves for late game smokes as well. I mean, they're going to be pretty satisfied with the extra loot they have been delivered. In the meantime, teams have still yet to really make a proper decision, I suppose, on where to approach this one from. But then again, when you're out on the edge, waiting for the next circle to pop still, they ain't really in much of a hurry. Entropic lost Ibis earlier, so they're going to play this one a bit slower, as we've come
Let's go
to know them, I should say, in their more passive early approach.
Pokrećem igrić.
Trying to fend off here against Exalt, maybe it's the other way around. Wants to get a foot in the circle, but Exalt ain't making it easy for them.
Again, the alternative route for question mark is to play the fields, which, I mean, you can probably lurk on the southwestern side of the field out of the vision of Smoke Wall and out of the vision of DA, but if you leave Exalt the freedom to play this entire hilltop, they're going to be the ones that cause the problem. So the direct approach for question mark, it will have to be, and again, they're in a position where they're more than happy to do that. They've got very little to lose in this overall upper bracket series. Whereas Exalt, they have everything on the line. Everything's riding on this fight for them.
Yeah, well, Howl needs points. Yep, needs points. They just
Što ovdje? Balkan lovi.
Navi, well, they've just dislodged BBL. This time around, Echo trying to come and say hello. But Navi once again fending teams off. Mika doesn't get knocked onto Uga, but shouldn't be too much.
Mi smo četvrti.
Pa rekao sam 2 i mi.
And I don't think he's down for this world. Nope, gets knocked. Points going over to Wu here. Much needed points for the team.
2 tima i mi.
There's always the re-breach possibility. Oh, what is that spray? Mika just deletes two. As DA just flies past, looks like they're chasing down. They want the same shack as Danimon, but they're going to meet pretty much the same fate as they go for it.
You'd have to imagine in the meantime now, the final question mark and Exalt had to happen eventually, and once question mark engaged, well, Exalt couldn't really do a whole lot about it. Fate forced to make the run off. Maybe he's already on the 3-seater.
Nije mogu kurca I kad je ušao Mika drugo je stano
Da si Davić.
That's not really it's a bit awkward to... Oh, okay, well, this might be a little better. A little more difficult to shoot you out from, but that generally is the issue for most of the players in this lobby. What will be an issue is when you go. The shack is occupied. The spot next to the shack is occupied.
Chris, Breako, Kijaka još neko igrao.
All the way to the
Zoker je igrao.
just trying to defend against Foot. This is a big fight if they can win it.
Yeah.
Soccer.
A još neko igrao posle Zokera I nije bio Mika. Mika je tek ovo
earlier. So just two on their feet to try and fend off here, Vard. Going off the rest for a second, maybe with the smoke deployed. Oh, perfect. He's at least going to find Lass. Indeed he will. Ruin down to half HP as well. It's going to force him to run off.
The step as Ruin was approaching, and then Ruin changed his mind and went back to try and grab Laz before he bled out, but no chance to do so with the grenade placed where it was. Now Foot is actually back to 3. They have the numbers advantage over Howl. Looking to isolate. Schofield holding the rock, but he just gets demolished. The spray from Vard is just that little bit better, and it's all it takes. Ruin. Last man standing, 1 versus 3. No support, no third parties.
H has just fully embraced the suppressed Ace 32. I'm all for it. Maybe that's the meta. Maybe that's the evolving of PUBG that we have yet to see. The AR suppressed as the main selection. We'll see now Vart looking for Snakes, Ruin down to very little HP, and Beamy will be the one to find him. Then down they go, and Foot, again, very needed points here, able to rack up a few extra.
So many teams that need those points, and it's just
Explodira.
dropped out again.
Farma I Lua.
After all, down to just a solo.
Ukrad našega.
It's far from it. Howl, I mean, Foot
Nik
at the
si
very
ga
least
ukrade.
still
Da,
with
dobro,
3
trebamo
standing
poeni.
and an okay spot.
Na Niksaru.
Koliko
in the
prolazi
newly
ti,
popped
znaš?
zone.
8.
5 kills on the board already, but it's
I
Twisted
šta onda
Minds that
svira
actually
finale
wrapping
ovog puta?
around the north to the
Kvalifikacija.
eastern
Ne,
side of
onda
the
idu
zone, going to
lower
be the
bracket,
next
ovi
threat.
bottom.
That is the
A da, i šta se
Osam.
onda igra?
target.
I onda je
Lower
final.
bracket,
They have to wipe them out.
finale
Onda je-
kvalifikacije, šta?
Ne be, super final.
Ojoj.
Spiro,
A šta je razlika između
holds the
finala
line.
kvalifikacije i super finala kvalifikacije?
He is grabbing a thing. Spiro just saw him. Yes, indeed, he did. Perfectix able to swing on him.
I
Bart,
koliko
though,
onda
instantly
prolazi?
there in return takes one
8,
down of his own.
Gledaj, sad od ova top 8 ide u finale, bottom 8 igra protiv onih drugih 8 što su tamo, od ozdo još 8 samo i brate za pare. Ma nema posle para.
Nema prošle dalje.
Posle to je pare.
Da,
Poeni i pare.
Doesn't try anything silly.
Zar nije
Just
ovo
Perfectix gets
turnir
a
gdje
little
sviraju
bit of a
sve
medivac
regije?
to a safer place out of grenade range for the revive to
Ovo je
come
PGS,
through.
ljudi.
Ovo je evropski turnir.
PGS, da.
Nije to svjetski. Ti retardiran, mi smo
Samo za Evropu. Turci su ti isto tu, vidiš i Rusi.
Manje retardiran sam.
PGC je ceo svet. PGC je ceo
3
svet.
mjeseca nazad se igralo PGS, sad su bili svi.
Pa da. Šta bre da? Igrao sam PGC, onaj u Dubai. Pa posle je bio PGS.
Imaš PGS, to ti je PUBG Global Season.
Znam, brate, zar nije i onda bio PGS, sad su igrali sve regije.
Would have to be found, and this time
Ne,
around it's going to
PGC
be
igra
ascent
se, ako
once
vinaš
more.
ideš na
10 kills
PGC.
as they continue forward.
Čekaj,
Boo as
onda je
well,
LAN ovo.
able to take out
Ne.
Denim on the last play.
Nema ništa LAN, samo PGC je LAN.
Kako je bio LAN, druže, bio je LAN pre mjesec, 2-3 mjeseca.
2 points is
So
the
pet
total
beer,
for
no?
after all.
It's
It's
not
not
so
enough
bad.
to close the
Ovo
gap
je
on
bio
Twisted
put
Minds. They've only got
sve
2
ljudi.
chances
Ovo je-
left.
Bio je
Try
LAN.
and do it, but Foot Esports
Dobro,
not
da ne
direct,
znam,
but he can't get more direct than that
Ma
from a
jo.
doozy. Full send,
A ništa bolje.
slams himself into the wall, but he can
Nema
trust
ništa
his best
bolje.
dog to get
Što
the trade.
lutamo?
See if they can fend off.
Water gore.
Yeah, but
Da
that
možemo
is
mi
with
ga
Metabay
letiti.
down already.
Ma kuda će da
Jumping for
nećemo.
info, knowing there's some knock play on the other side, knowing they
Je
had
li
one just
nekoga kroz
before.
deval?
Best of luck to finish this off on his
Šta?
own. We've seen him play phenomenal PUBG,
Ne
but it ain't gonna be enough.
uzmamo
As
ulta,
Voldemort
idemo
wraps
gore.
around,
Da,
finds
evo,
him, and maybe,
PGS 1,
just
jeste
maybe,
bolesni ljudi.
32 points currently.
Jel bio
Igro je
Lance?
will
Navi,
be the change of
Twisted
momentum
Minds
that
Face,
Evan needs in
Howl
order
i
to
Asian,
make
onda
a,
izlaze, igrao 17 gaming.
not
Je,
impossible,
bravo,
but
bravo.
difficult
Bravo,
ascent
bravo.
to top 8 with
Bolesni
only
ste
2
ljudi.
games left to play
I
after
onda
this.
je Virtus
Yeah, I
win
mean,
Twisted
from
Minds.
this point, you're what, 25-ish
No,
points
bravo,
behind
100%.
with
Nije
about
Twisted Minds,
2
ima
and a bit
17
games
gaming
left to
ljudi.
go. It's doable.
Ona
Sad
je
Twisted Minds
It
winu.
will be a
Oni
struggle.
su kvalifikacije imali.
And they are struggling themselves now. They made the push onto the
Otto
shack,
put.
but
Nema
now
auta
there's
nigde.
4 targets
Pojme
to
dva
look
auta
for.
nalika.
And Descend are creeping forwards with a smoke wall of their own. Entropic in a better position to just punish the
Kupi
Woo.
nas.
But
I
up
na
on the
centar.
high ground is
Moram
Twisted
pobiti
Minds
čovjeka
once
prvo.
I bio je
again,
17 je
stacking
bio.
up the
Motor
points.
mi
As
je.
soon as this team
Bio je
gets
17
given
prvi
an opportunity to farm
i
from high
Ace
ground, they're
drugi.
going to take it, and it's always going to
Uzimaju
be
mi
lucrative.
motor, hoće.
Let's see now, Kilikai.
Pa mi lutamo se.
Purple shield to work with,
Moram
but not a
se
whole lot
Mi
outside
water
of that.
lutam, moram
Blue is
spotu
going to be
gore.
closing in
To
real
ako mi
soon
ne
as
auto.
well. As I
Pa što
think
nisam
those
našao
days
sebe auto?
are gonna be
Če
counted.
čekamo Laki
Yeah,
ovde.
but finally flexing out of the compound, knowing that they have full circle
Nismo u
control,
zonu, ovaj
now
neće
put
nas
out on those
pući.
grid lines and see what they can get.
To je stav.
Dobro, mogu je onda lutat ovde. Nije
Ma
ništa.
može.
Pa kurac
Did
mu
at the very
mogu.
least manage to get back.
Pucam veliko
Ne
zraku.
sme, bre.
Kilikai is under a lot of pressure.
Zašto ga ubijaju, ne sme da puca, retardi balkanski
Evo
mrtvi.
te
That's a
flasha.
solid wall
Da.
of
Da.
angry eyeballs staring
To
at
svi
him from that
su,
shack, and it doesn't look like Ascend
Glupi,
will be making
jebene raspale,
too many
meni
moves
se
further
Very
into this
Fortnite,
game,
ovako
but
ne-
I mean, you can't
A
complain.
otvoriš
Top 6
slobodno
and 10
tike.
kills, they're
Da,
already
buš
Ne,
dobro.
nice
well
tike,
into
da.
the safe spot. They'll
A
be
imaš
happy
nabrate
with that,
tike,
I'm
sam
sure.
piše da otvoriš i to je
There's
to.
still this little tease of this engagement to come through. There was a trade before, and everyone fell back and reset. Nobody wants to get over
On je
aggressive,
streamer,
but
bre.
Foot They have to clean up Twisted Minds. They have to get more points than them from this game. It has to happen eventually, but it won't happen before Killikai gets cleaned up.
Pa ti, da ne se zameraš drugi ljudi. Ja si idemo na naše mjesto.
Ja, da se ne zamjeram.
Trying to make this cross on
Pa
through.
ti.
That much harder. Not a whole lot of cover
Volim
for
mene
him to work
kurac sa
with.
stream.
With no one in the hills, really
Kako
moving
on
that
pravi
towards
sranja,
him. Looking much more
dobro šta je
possible.
služi.
Tropic continuing to do damage now. This time around it's
Mala
on some
Gans,
Twisted
14
Minds as they
godina.
try to make their way on closer. If one nade lands and this vehicle blows, that could just be all of Entropic down as Mex is the next to fall.
Ja, ovaj nade je bio dobar naš.
That's a good nade.
Counter-nade has come back.
Ne
They
lupa,
look
ne lupa, ne
playing
lupa, ne
inside the shack will
lupa.
survive a little longer. The Molotovs won't do the damage required, and that
Ne,
smoke
ubije njega, diže
the only
Mixija i
thing that's
ubije
keeping
ceo tim.
Entropic alive right now. The line of sight from the
Evo
wall.
ga.
If they could see through the smokes, he would be doomed, but he's doomed anyway. The grenade
To sve ide
Ono,
bio
bar je
to.
put him
bit
in
Pa
the
treba
bin.
reportat zabak njema, nek da bio banove.
Playing 2 additional points and
Koji?
the gap again
Pa dobro,
between
brate, što
themselves
sam
and
si juče
Foot
fajta van
increases.
zoni.
And a lot of help coming through here from Entropic
Juče
and
dobili
kind of
strike.
preventing
Da.
Woot.
Ono izlazi, daj ako ne stigra idemo iza.
Izašao sam, druže.
Izašao si ti, nije food, daj food, ajde fokusi.
Kuda da izađem, brat?
Pa stanem
Pa ja
pored
rekao
auta,
si
evo.
water da lutamo.
I, neš uz auto, jel?
Dok sam video auto, želim da ih reportam.
Ne,
Reportam ih.
a reporta poslije meča.
A ne možeš ti svakako reportat, nisi u timu.
Ma ja gi pišem na Discord.
Znači, ja znam kako reportat poslije. Lutaj ti, šta još lutaj?
Ma idem se u water.
A ovo što lutaj, lutaj.
Pa mogu to.
Debili jebote, neće, znači, prokliti ispani portali, istu su stvar radili, brat, isto, i ti si rekao da ista ta ekipa, jel?
Da, ista ekipa.
Oni konstantno isto rade, jebote, ubijaju nas, prvo nas pucaju u vazduhu, sad ovo rade, jebote. Ja stvarno nikad nikoga drugog ne reportam, ma njih ću da reportam kunence dok mi se ne izblijede tipke na tastaturi. Debili jebote, to je debil, shvataš, to je debil je lik. Mutavi debil. Kako se reporta? Poslije ćeš mi reći, ja ću ih reporta odmah poslije večer.
A moraš sam na Twire kad dođe game. Uzeti link game i to je to.
Na Twire?
Sa Twire treba ti meč.
A šta se viće na Twire? Treba li snimi replay?
Ne trebaš. Sa Twire ono ko što ja ti gledamo mečeve poslije streamova, brate, sam kupio još na lik meča.
Nekad se ne vidi ko pali metak, razumiješ?
Nema veze, brate. Ima stream, nek uđu na stream i vide. Tako bude i trebalo.
Ja sam se iznervirao, brat.
Ajmo da ih ubijemo sad.
Ne ja da bi obvezio strajkove.
Pa samo će ih ubijemo, prvi su pucali.
Pa da, ali je, smo resetovali pa. I to je baš pogrešno. Treba ekipa da dobije strajk i treba svaki lik pojedinačno da dobije strajk. Ako tako, možda tako i funkcioniše, nemam pojma.
Ma dobije cijela ekipa samo strajk.
Da,
I
oni
ko je prijavljen?
mix.
A?
Jel
Ne
oni
mogu,
sutra da igraju mix?
ne mogu.
Da.
Svi ti igrači budu temporary banned. Koji su prijavljeni u timu, znači njih četvorca.
Lak idemo ka Mont. Ovako.
Ajde.
Uzini si dobar slut.
Da.
Imaš tamo sobu za report. Znam gdje je tiket, tu negdje, jel?
Evo, sam klikneš na ticket i open ticket, brate.
I napišeš game, broj gejma koji je...
Koji je ovo, 5.
Ali ne možeš još trebati tvoj link.
Da, okej, da.
Game 5, vidjet ćeš tamo na
tvoj... Evo nije 5 fajtaju, gledaj ovo. Evo ih. To si ti, jel da, QZQ.
Kako se zove... Na kojoj minuti otprilike se desilo i zašto je reportaš. I koji tim, naravno.
Nisu ti be, Mostok se ubio ovaj neki Jackson. To je neki retardi naš.
Nisu naši. Ili?
Moje.
Ti znaš?
Pa,
Dovk luta Hacienda Split uglavnom. Znači trebalo bi biti on. Kim je Tvajer.
Pa Jackson ga je ubio.
Pa jest, on igra za Dovk.
To su naši.
Pa jest, i ovaj Kojan. Ma nisi naš kakvi.
Ja, okre nas.
Vraćam se.
Čekaj. Dobar sam.
Si dobro?
Da.
Rotacija pored mene, fight. Neko je palio metak na Rainbow ispred mene.
Na Rainbow, jel?
Da, na pin. A ovo je izmantinuje auto, otišlo stalo na hangare.
I auto ispred tebe, Dulik, isto tebe.
Če? Vidim, ide na tebe laki auto.
Odakle?
3 auta.
Stali.
Nisu, bježe.
Stali su me.
Samo 2 auta.
Jedan, jako je jedan iz auta. Bravo. Nije taj. Treba mi smoke leki.
Još jedan tu, jel?
Odno pintašno. I još auto bi došlo s lijeđa.
Stao je gore. Bravo, posljednji je gore negdje.
Gore na žutom.
Healam. Dušo ti mene kuzi.
Hitan je.
Healam.
Iza šeka
Smok
je.
samo.
Ne treba.
Vižem spucao negdje.
Kuca vas hangar.
Sa planine gore, vrš planine spuca. Krali
Dobio
killove.
sam assistent.
Jel možete da izvučete?
Još desno.
Ne možemo izvući. Drugi na kill dobro. Da, ovo je dobro. Ne, laki.
A lik je ovdje gore na planini, spama nas.
Vidim ga.
Če treba Ari smokovac, ja?
Da.
Če legnem da se ne kill.
Ulez odmah tu.
Šta je to?
I ova čitečina pušala sa strane, vamo na pin. Pušam dol nižnje fuzije.
Ne jebe, majku, ima više.
Opet ovaj lik. Raspali cheater.
Sad njega ne pucaj, evo, gledaj. Jo, znači kako se ovo, sad ja pišem tike, daj mi reći kako se piše tike, jebat ću i milu majku.
Hajde na Discord, imaš ticket support.
Ticket support, da.
I klikni open ticket, brate. Jel to bio prvi ili drugi Teo kad sam nas dva pucao? Prvi, ja mislim.
A će igramo li ranked posle ovo, očito?
Ja nisam.
Svi Dulik. Nećeš, a?
to consistently be
Napišem,
good
kako
in
se
this
zove
area of the map because of how much things change every
TMDOFG.
single time. But the fact that Twisted Minds get up on the Pachinki Hill and then get to push down and survive for as long as they did, that's not something you usually see teams manage to do for as long. Similar fashion and how FUT Esports approached it. Not oftentimes you see those two teams be the ones out victorious.
You'd also see during this late game here with Yepa still being alive, Saga, that they locked down that barn. They knew that was kind of the last play that Yepa could potentially open up, and then once it was out, then they make the smoke path. They just ran for it and it got so much more terrain and control.
Minut od prvog do trećeg.
Yeah, it was a big move actually, and earlier on when there was that hint of an engagement between Twisted Minds and FUT, and we were sort of questioning, should they have committed, should they have made that play, wiped out Twisted Minds earlier, probably would have come at the cost of at least one player as Beamy was caught out on the flank, and maybe then they wouldn't have gone on to win the game. There's a whole lot of questions and butterfly effect situations, but I mean, when all said and done, the gap has closed, but not by a significant margin. So FUT Esports, they made some progress, but is it going to be enough?
The question is, can they hold down or try to catch up to a day 2 Twisted Minds here?
I mean, even if they can't, there's with how Twisted Minds are currently playing, they're probably going to surpass a team or two. And then it doesn't matter that they haven't caught Twisted Minds. They have caught top 8. They have caught all the teams. They have mitigated the gap that they had to in order to make their way up there. So I don't really care what team they're hunting. They're hunting top 8 as a whole, and right now they're just outside it.
Yeah, and the big question is, if Twisted Minds and FUT continue to have this momentum here going, it could be the next team that is going up. And as we saw before the game started, we pointed out, it's literally 6 teams that was within a 5-point caution from second place down to 7th. So there's still a lot of teams that are not safe yet here, Saga.
I mean, Twisted Minds is now only 4 points behind Digital Athletics, so when we say that FUT Esports is 10 points away from the top 8, they're about 20 points away from the top 3. So it really has been a massive turnaround for them, and it just continues this trend of teams just putting their names in the hat. And not to brag or anything, but we've seen what FUT Esports has built in Istanbul, that team house. This is a team with ambition, a floor to ceiling trophy cabinet that they want to fill. So FUT Esports is going to be making a huge run, all effort in the final couple of games.
Yeah, and here we see the leaderboard, of course, for this match leaderboard, as we pointed out, 19 points for FUT, Twisted Minds 14, Yepa also with another good performance here of 12. Doubt that it's going to be enough. Ascent, though, to put themselves even better position here, 12 points, they're going to be 100% guaranteed, and a good showing from Moo here, Toby, with 10.
Yeah, I mean, finally getting some things going again. Circles went in their direction, but it's always hard to play that position, especially when you have to move out of it. But able to stay alive for as long as it. Really, really impressive performance from Rue. Still a long run to the 70-point club, which is now where the cutoff is for Rue, though, down at 32.
Yeah, really close leaderboard as you see it here. All the teams, I would say, at 77 plus, that's going to be definitely guaranteed safe for them. There's a big doubt in me that we're going to see 2 teams from the bottom half now catch it. I think the FUT roster now is the last team that my eyes are on to maybe take over Twisted Mind or push out, you know, DA or BBL if they have a really, really bad set of games here for the next 2, Saga.
Yeah, it could well be, and I think the fact that teams that were dominant in day 1, the likes of Question Mark, FaZe, and Tropic, haven't really lived up to that same level on day number 2. I mean, Question Mark, it's not been a bad day by any stretch, but they're sort of averaging around 5 to 6 points per game today, which is nowhere near as dominant as it was in day 1. Those other points are now being distributed across the board, and that's exactly why we're seeing things in the current state that they are.
And the big game plan for the next teams here, Toby, that are in the top, that currently are in +8, they just need to get a few points here. We're talking 2-3 points for the next 2 games, and they should be safe.
Yeah, it's going to be very close, but I also feel like whenever it's we need 20 points, teams tend to come out and get it. When it's, we just need 1 point, guys, it's fine. They got in 16th without a single kill. So hopefully for those teams currently set in, I want to say like top 5 territory, they can get that little bit extra, but there are also those teams currently on the hunt that if history is to be repeated, will come out swinging in the final 2 games.
We've seen another tournament as well where BBL, they were looking good, and then on the last day they get pushed out by some teams that are doing extremely good here, Zaga.
I think it's very fair to say that any of the teams that are
Se vidi
particularly
ovdje da
towards
smo
the lower
spucali
end
u
of the
led.
top 8 as it stands do have need to be concerned about the teams that are looking to close the gap, but it's also probably fair to say that all of them are going to be safe regardless of who goes through to the lower bracket. I mean, with how tight it is for teams at the top, 10, 11 teams all contesting for these spots, there's surely no way that things can go that disastrously wrong in tomorrow's matches, right?
It definitely feel like we have like 9-10 teams each that are going to be very consistent once
Ja
we
to
get to
neka
the
vidi,
grand
neka
final.
ne vidi.
It definitely feels like these
Ja
9-10
vidiš,
teams,
nek
including
vidi
Default
se,
maybe
ali
with the 10
nek se neka se ne vidi.
that's going to be the teams that are going to be dominating the finals too.
And to add to that, that only, I mean, of course, depending on how many of the GBT teams make top 2, but to add to that, that only top 2 makes into PGS2, that is, I mean, that is a very, very small amount of space for a whole hell of a lot of teams trying to prove that they're capable of bringing that home.
Yeah, that would currently be question mark.
Ovaj
and
naši
Tropic,
kontestu
if that
dug.
was the case, or I guess
Koji?
that's when
Ovaj
without
iz
calculating the extra points there. But FaZe would actually be in there and pushing that
Ovaj
down, so
compound
that
je
would be top
skočio
3.
za auto, brate.
And I was
Taj
talking a little
compound
bit
nama
about it
pripada.
with Kovo actually, and he's like, "Yep, there's
Čekaj,
a
evo
pretty
ću
good
iskreno.
chance that we're gonna see one of the GP teams."
Dobro, ali
GP
nisu
teams in
imali
the top. I
Jelenda.
feel like they,
Kako nisu
especially
Ohjang
with
lutaju?
what
Ovaj
we know
Diga.
Navi is
Da,
capable
da, da, da,
of, but
Ohjang
also
luta.
with what FaZe has been showing us so
Njihovi
far.
lučko to
But
Ohjang.
guys, that is
Ovaj compound
two
nama.
games to go here.
Evo
We
ti,
are
pogledaj
all way
u
through our
Tejgo
6 days. It's
Protection.
going to be wrangle for the
Tejgo
next few ones.
Protection,
We're going to take a
pogledaj.
short break
I
before
večer
we
go
get ready
studio.
and get started with the penultimate game of the day here. So see you then after the short break.
A sam pogledaj isto Ohjang, da ne pripada slučajno i njima. Gdje je Ohjang?
A gdje ti je to? Evo,
Ne pripada njima. Samo nama pripada.
Beyond all of that, I mean, they jumped from roof to roof. That was the advantage of having that big vert nade. Will they be able to take him here? It goes a little far.
Dodaj slobodno tamo tikijetu plus hot drop.
Yeah.
Dok je...
Takes a little longer for it to spread, and they're just exactly in it. Just exactly in it. Friel with it.
Was able to pick up a bit of that up too. So now Entropic actually, he's got not too bad a compound. Exalt getting absolutely slammed here against all of these nades coming on. BBL just trying to do some big damage against them. Molodok goes down as well. That'll be a finish off on someone.
Nije Hosan, nego Ohjang. Ne tako zove, ja pisao Hosan.
Da.
Michael doesn't have the Orfist, and yet he's just going full aggro mode. I like it. Finds one more knock now as well. Not sure what Exalt was expecting. I mean, everyone knew where they were once they started shooting at the mid-air, and they've just kind of thrown it down in a dip. Now they're getting help from up above as Lookerbrooks is able to take out Michael on approach, and now, I mean, FaZe, they're just enjoying all of this. Oh, a third player opportunity. We'll take that for free. Mike, I'm not sure if that's going to help a whole lot, but they have 3 FaZe players currently going without vehicles and weapons, and there you go. One finds one, but no, the run over. The run over is still the after. And he gets the picks. So Vex does get to go in. You can see only now is coming over the ridge line to help out. He was far away from the team, but now able to regroup and get back together. Teams does manage to find one, gets the second one as well, as it turns on to Lou.
Batulins looking for an opportunity here. A nade might come on through here from Batulins, but likewise, James realizes where Spiro is. Sends a nade on the way over towards that car. Does it actually go far enough? No air burst before actually hitting the location he needs. It's going to be Batulins on the off angle here. A finish off on Lou. Do they find an opportunity here against them? I don't think they know exactly on Batulin's angle, but they do certainly know on Spiro's. Here it comes.
Wait.
Oh
I thought they hadn't added mortars to competitive yet.
Well, none of the pros want it, and well, yeah, they're... Oh my God!
He just keeps on going. I mean, not bad as when you're in that dip. He's like, guys, give me a nade. I got the angle down. Give me a nade. I know how to find them. Everyone is running over, or maybe they just want to do it themselves. He's like,
My
turn. Ein Unterhandgranat, and then that's all. I don't know what I'm saying. I was just trying to make an impression.
Oh
the guy
my!
gets Welcome to Modders.
Welcome to our new patch report, where we'd like to introduce the exciting changes coming your way in update 24.1. One of our main goals this update is to allow for a wider variety of gameplay based on both individual skills and teamwork. Let's start with tactical gear. We aim to elevate it from optional to an indispensable part of your arsenal. To achieve this, we're adding tactical gear crates to your inventory at the start of each game. Inside these crates, you'll find a variety of tactical gear to choose from, which once chosen will be equipped to the 6th tactical gear exclusive slot in your inventory. Keep in mind, however, that once equipped, the tactical gear you chose will be with you until the end of the match. Wondering what happens to it upon death or recall? Or what about the world spawn tactical gear? All of these answers can be found in our new patch notes. Meanwhile, we're also enhancing the usability of repair kits by combining them into a single versatile item that can repair helmets, vests, and vehicles. The revamped repair kit comes with 10 uses and also introduces a new feature, the ability to detach tires and attach them to the vehicle of your choice. So gear up and remember, a well-oiled vehicle and a spare tire could be the difference between a chicken dinner and becoming the enemy's main course. Vikendi also hasn't been left out of our update plans. We've made some changes to address areas where players have struggled the most by adding some extra covers and bridges. Additionally, we've made improvements to the Blizzard Zone, cable cars, crowbar interactions, and comeback VR features based on your valuable feedback. We've got more exciting news. Prepare to put your skills to the test, as Vikendi will be joining the rank pool in the new rank Season 24. To spice things up, we've also added jammer packs and mortars to the rank mode. Also, before you head out, don't miss our new Survivor Pass, Splash Royale, and many more exciting updates included in patch 24.1. Make sure to check out the patch notes for all the details. And we'll see you on the battlegrounds.
Welcome back here to the PGS2 EMEA qualifiers. This year I'm joined by Toby and Saga. And guys, we have 2 more games to go to decide the top 8 teams that are going straight to the finals. Is going to be playing on Friday in next weekend. And it is really, really close. And we're in for some really exciting matches here, Saga.
100%, and well, there's only 2 left to go, and if today is anything to go by, you are 100% right, Toby. This is going down to the final game, regardless of who it's going to be that's competing for that final spot. Maybe even potentially if Exalt can pick up a win in this penultimate game, they could throw their name in the mix as a late candidate as well, but there's going to be so much riding on this next couple of hours.
And even of what those 8 teams are, Toby, we are already seeing kind of what are the teams that we're expecting to do well in the lower bracket. If it's Foot, if it's Twisted Minds, they are going to be absolutely dominating in the lower bracket and go through with ease.
Yeah. I mean, you'd have to imagine, but then again, we have seen it before where those teams that, they made lower bracket, but it's no problem, they're going to be fine, run into some of these teams where maybe they don't really know what to expect from them, and they actually have a hard time. Not saying that it's, very unlikely for either Foot or Twisted Minds, should they not qualify, to then, make it through from lower bracket. Just saying that we've seen it before, where some of those teams that we expect to plow through the lower bracket actually have a pretty hard time because the game is completely different.
Yeah, and I remember a clip from BBL tweeted, all right, we go lower bracket, it's just extra training. And if you could plan that, if you could have that extra training in the lower bracket, that would be the best training you could have, because it's better quality than the scrims are. So if you could guarantee yourself that you're going to go to the finals by playing the lower bracket, like BBL kind of did in one of the last tournaments, then of course that's what you want to do, right, Sagan?
Not a million miles away from getting the run back either is BBL. They're 5 points clear of Twisted Minds in 8th place, who again only 10 points ahead of Foot Esports, so there is still plenty left to be decided, and we've got 2 more games to decide it all.
We got 2 more games to decide, and it is PGS2 here EMEA qualifiers going on. I'm super excited to be here along with you guys, and of course it's going to be 2 more Wrangle games. We just had an exciting one. I gotta say, I love the kind of open endings, as you guys pointing out. The question is, are we going to get more? Are we going to get more military? Not sure. It's not jinxing it. I would love to see a Stalva ending. That's the big one for me. But guys, of course, PGS2 here for Gamers 8 in August. We're going to be going to PGS2 there. I was there last year and it was absolute pressure, but it was 50 degrees hot here. It was crazy. So you got to bring your shorts if you go.
Sam mute on it.
An open ending game. Maybe it could also be fun with a Starboy ending. Maybe, you know, what about a military? And it's like, you can't just predict all the areas of the map. That's not the, oh, guys, I predicted the circle. If you just say every single spot there is on the map. But with that said, Saga, you can only mention one. Where would you like to see this next game go?
First of all, I'd say I would like to not go to Riyadh in 50-degree heat. I am ginger. I would melt, so good luck. Whoever's going over there, man, it will be pretty disgusting. But given the flight path that we have, I'll tell you what, there's one set of fields that we haven't really given any attention to. The eastern side of Yaznaya.
Šta je loša zona?
That would give Exalt a pretty solid shot at getting some priority spots for themselves. And that would just add an extra name into the mix if they were able to pick up that dub and make that final game all the more exciting.
You are not wrong. That would make things pretty damn interesting, that's for sure. It's definitely not out of the realm of possibilities as we wait a little 30 seconds longer for that first circle to pop. After all, wouldn't be complaining about that circle shift either, but their run for top 8 is
Igatka je naša.
they pretty much need like back-to-back.
Koliko na kraju ljudi prolaze, da, 8 ili 4?
Games if they want to make their way all the way up into the top 8 echelon of this one. We'll see now. 8 seconds to go. Where is this first circle going to take us?
Actually over towards hospital. It looks like just using Foot Esports and the fact that they're kind of on the precipice.
Pa što sam rekao da je kotka centar? Ubre, poznavam zonu. Šalim se, Luka mi napisao poruku.
Thought better of it, but thankfully it's got them an okay spot in the zone, pretty similar, in fact, to what we saw in the previous game. Slightly more.
Imam info da si nimfo. Svako drugo veče penjaš se na drugim tipom.
Looking at the leaderboard right now with 2 games to play, I mean, if you're Na'Vi, if you're in Tropic and you die early in this one, and I don't even want to say the stars align, because it doesn't even take that much for it to happen, but just a few teams rack up a somewhat decent game, all of a sudden you're the team on the cusp of not qualifying, and that's falling from top 4 and down. But because that 70-point kind of club, as you've called it, is so close, as we're seeing right now, it's really, I mean, it's really impossible to call who's going to be the team sat that 8th place spot with Foot coming off of a win and us knowing how well they tend to play when the momentum gets going.
Plus, D1 treba 3 tima da odigraju, tako da bi oni isto 4, on ne mogu slušao, to bi ja, brate, odo roknuć, kune, ali
Ja ga muteram, pa ja prenosim. Hehe.
The grand finals, and it was this close, and all of the PGC points and the PCS slots were on the line. I mean, think back to PEC Spring, it was only 2 points that decided whether or not it was going to be Ascend or Exalt.
Da, mute i ja hypujem.
And it decided it in the final 30 seconds of the game too. So.
Yeah, literally the last couple of kills. So,
Abe, laki li ima?
It's tricky, man. It is tricky.
One ženske na TikTok što igraju PUBG.
I'll be honest, you know, there's a lot where sometimes, even if you've been casting for a while, nerves do appear, but I'll tell you what, it's got to be much worse on the behind of the PCs that those guys are playing at.
Oh yeah.
Pa čituju li stvarno ko što ih porezivaju ili ne?
You know what, after all, is this the first time we haven't seen them make like a 19-kilometer rotation? They're going direct. They're just taking the emergency pickup. They finally found one, Toby. They were desperate in the previous matchup, and they've got.
Question now becomes where are they planning on going with it? Is they going to be coming in very early? That usually is. I mean, for the little sample size that we do have of emerging early on. That's where teams punish split positions, whether it be Gatka, whether it be towards the west of it. You know that teams aren't anticipating a full-on pull-up, especially not from parachutes this early on in the game. So if you aren't ready for it and your team currently still somewhat split looting around the center of the map, you might get caught by surprise by the likes of Afghan coming full speed forward towards you.
And also be caught out by a nasty surprise as Foot is not happy that Smoke Wall has tried to make the best of the situation that Foot find himself in and creep their way into hospital. That is just instant retribution, double headshot, almost at the same in-game tick. Shipless never stood a chance.
Nothing he could do in order to try and regroup. Foot Esports knew exactly where and when they were playing this one from. They can pay for it.
Already got themselves a little bit of a split as well. Kasu was over towards the southeast, maybe just poking his head around
Mali lobby,
what
okay.
is a bit of a
Gleda
split
neko.
from Entropic, so
Pogledam.
had his attention turned elsewhere, did not
Ima
see the
lobby,
push
ajde.
from Foot Esports,
Nema.
and that is 1 point secured
Yeah.
for
That's-
Foot. 9-point gap.
That's Foot out
Let me
hunting,
invite.
right? That's
Sam
Foot
tebe ja
now
ne vidim,
feeling it,
pusti.
saying, you know what, it's
Koga
actually
Hamilton.
within reach. We could actually go out and do this. Let's just keep the momentum up, and we do so by going straight back into fighting as soon as we came out of the previous one. In the meantime, after all, are they going north, George? Yeah, it seems like they might be. I mean, I guess it's pretty safe considering how the plane path was and the fact that no one's really gonna be, I mean, or expected to be around there at this point in the game. So, North George, grab a vehicle or two and wrap south. Not exactly the worst play.
Hopefully they'll still have a couple of cars there, because if After All can't make their coastal rotate, I think they'll just have a mental breakdown, not know what to do with themselves. So hopefully they'll find a car there and have the opportunity. Solo full send, style points for sure. Didn't really stick the landing for Sancho. And I don't think he's getting a boost to flip that over, but hey, at least they've got another car.
It's flippable, I'd say. It's it seems like there's a bit of a slant. You can maybe if you bring a shovel as well, dig down underneath on the other side. And well, let's see Bumbill if he can flip that one over. Seems like that's what he's going for. And a 3, and a 2, and a 1, and a boop. And now it's just even more upside down. There you go, Bumbill.
Okay,
Good job.
well.
Let's just stay with this for a second. See if you can. And
Sancho just clapping him is the best thing I've seen all day. Actually, you know what? Can
we don't
have
get
a
enough
compilation of
emotes.
Sancho clapping.
And now he's gonna. Oh, imagine if he actually ruined that one too. We don't get enough emote use in PUBG. I feel like it's here for the sake of BM and having fun with it, but we don't see it utilized enough.
Yeah. I mean, there's been some pretty highlight moments of full teams doing some of the victory dances in in-game lobbies that occasionally get flashed up, but no, that was some pretty good mechanical performance from Sancho there from Solo. I'd give him an extra point for that if it was up to me, but unfortunately it isn't. So, well, similar zone to the previous game, as we've already mentioned, but things have gone a little different in terms of where teams are positioned. Ascend no longer holding down the area by chopsticks. Na'Vi actually beat them to it and stole that away for themselves. Nobody in Gatka itself, and Tropic just split around it, so that is an entirely free area that DA has opted not to occupy, because also Everest is free, so they've got 2 players up there too.
Yeah, it's, again, I mean, very similar circle, a little further north than the previous game, but as I was alluding to he also played. I mean, he's from the UK. We went over this yesterday. First it was Fex who couldn't drive, and now I'm just putting the dots together. And even though James owns a cool car and all that, he probably doesn't know how to drive either. It's just
Has a Polish license, I think he's okay.
UK people and cars, man, they don't know how to do it. Maybe it's because you can't go UK mode in this game, where the steering wheel comes on the right side of the vehicle. He's full committing. I'm gonna stay here regardless of what happens. I'm just gonna using the hill, and there you go.
Look, it's a successful flip, but there was no teammate there to clap it, so it just wasn't as impressive, really. But at the very least...
no, Corexia is shooting in the air. You know what? That's vehicle clapping.
Fair enough.
That's as best as they come.
Fully understandable that nobody else from FaZe wants to get in Fix's vehicle. I've been there, buddy. I'm also a UK driver. Don't worry about it. BBL making an appearance now from up to the north. Severny, they're crossing over the river, and they're going to find the crates nice and uncontested for them. And actually doing a little bit of scouting towards Everest will reveal that there's some free space towards the eastern side of that, should they wish to do some further scouting as well.
I think it's going to go quiet for a while now. I mean, with obviously FaZe coming in from the southern side. Outside of that, I think it's definitely going to quiet down a bit. Everyone is waiting for another 35 seconds to see where the next circle is going to take us. And because everyone is currently sat pretty comfortably inside the circle, we don't really have a reason for anyone to use until I should say they know they're going to be forced to.
20 seconds until we get a bit of a better indication of exactly how the game will be panning out. Phase 2 will tell us a lot, and will tell these teams whether or not their premonition and positioning in phase number 1 was on point or not. Would you imagine it's going to go back for an exact repeat of
Surprise!
Who could have seen that?
Zašto smo mi pustili gatku?
They're going to fall back for a bit of a regroup. And again,
Ovo se čuva.
very similar settings, but the team's
Kreš,
positioning is extremely different. Foot Esports this time, all the way on the
Zašto smo
northwestern
ostavili
side of
gatku?
the zone. They were on South Pachinki Hill, and not too far after this in the previous game. So that is one major difference that could have a lot of impact in the overall standings.
Also, I love how Howl, when they saw that shift, they're like, you know what, Jeppe won, or almost won from down there before. Let's just instantly send all four into that exact spot. Because now that we know it's free real estate, we might as well claim it as early as possible. And they will indeed be able to get it done. So Zico stop running up on foot, trying to scout for the forward, but he will soon find out that is all occupied.
Yeah. Not the worst thing in the world for Jeppe either, though, to have lost that position, because they've backfilled and claimed where the Woo were in the game before this.
Yeah.
And the Woo, and they picked up 10 points from that game. And, you know, if Jeppe can do that, then they'll be more than happy again. It's very, very unlikely that they're going to be able to do enough to get into the top 8 with just these 2 games to go. But again, every point
Ti bre, Mosok se ubio te ovaj što ima 200 average damage. Nego možda nisi imao pušku, a? Neka caja bi ga.
For any of these teams, particularly those that don't have that top level
Yeah, exactly. And again, I mean, as we mentioned, there are some pretty hungry teams sat further down in the lower bracket waiting. And you've had the pleasure of playing. It's not like the lower bracket teams haven't been sat here watching what's unfolding. So they will have almost as much info to go off of as you will have coming into the lower bracket. But, well, he wasn't long for this world. Out of the vehicle he falls as he's taken down, and Jeppe racks up a much needed point.
A smemo da dropamo oko.
The big difference. Navi was not in the bowl this time, so BBL gets a chance to play the game. For the most part, 75% of the squad will successfully make it. And, well, we'll see exactly how long it will last them. The zone didn't last all that long on this bowl in the previous matchup, but some things stay the same across games, and Beamy has an AWM again. I don't know who keeps airdropping this man the biggest bolt in the game, but hey, you know, we'll take it if it can hit the headshots.
Now we just need to see him get kills with it.
Yeah.
Yeah? I know that he got them on Miramar, but in the Wrangle game he didn't, so I'm just calling him out for that.
They got another onto a smoke wall at the very least.
True.
Beamy saved the bullet, if anything, just let his teammates do the shooting instead. And now they've got to make their move in. But unfortunately, Afteralt have crept their way up on top of Everest ahead of them. And that is a big solid wall that they're going to have to try and get through.
Did they just pop one more?
They got it again.
James used one just a second ago, and now they're using one more. But again, it's perfect time. You always want to pop them right on... and that's something that FaZe has already, if not perfected, then gotten close to. The timing of when to deploy these. If you can time it with the new circle popping, so that you can detach just before the plane is on you as the new circle pops, kind of similarly to how people tend to get in vehicles right before the new circle pops and kind of accelerate so they're on the go as soon as the new circle pops, should it go away from them. If you can time that right, you're looking pretty good. Let's see now. New circle pops, goes up towards north. Expect to see teams going woohoo into the air and fly forward in just a second.
Yes.
Will DA continue to hold this split? It looks like the answer might be a no. They're hopping into some vehicles, and they're going to be feeling the pressure, as after all are making a descent from Everest. They ideally would want to fall back to Gatka, but actually looks like
Cole kreša, James kreša, BBL, Jeb, svi u čopstici.
We've seen this one before.
Kako da?
Exactly how well it's going to go this time.
Mogu li ovo da si lutam ja moje?
And FaZe fan do the exact same thing. Let's see who got here first.
Pa da, Vranjsko su kače si u toj.
Down by 2. Issue is FaZe's as well. Vex here, James get something done, but being shot at four sides. While trying to do so, the entire server ablaze.
Dragi, imaš ti 11 godina, 12, koliko imaš godina?
Brate, ja imam 28, ali opet mi gledam.
But not gonna happen. As FaZe
Nađi
take
ovo.
down
Ko ti
Exalt.
kriv?
So in an instant we
I
lose
ti
9
ponovo igraj
players.
Mosog s njim,
Howl just swept
On je
Solo
tim,
aside
brate, on
like
je
a
timski
mild
duh.
nuisance. They were
Moramo
third partying
zajedno
this,
da se
putting
napravi.
shots into the back of Exalt,
Slušaj,
kind of helping
nisam
FaZe
gledao.
with their
Druže,
Uzmeš
mi
ti
se
taj bug,
pucamo,
ja?
dođe Dulić i
Solo
samo je
just rocked
dlapat
up
u
into
glavu.
their dip and got completely
I don't have
obliterated. Now the smokes
card.
is the only thing
Yeah.
that's going to separate these two teams, unless a potential third-party suitor comes in and tries a rebreach.
I onda se pitaš što
Anywhere
se mi
else
ne
would
igra.
be recommendable to go in between the two. And actually, Navi is
A,
da,
se
dvojica,
igra,
mogu
ok.
se nas bloku.
presence towards this.
A
Maybe
čime
peek
bug ima?
over the top, look
Da.
for a possible flush, but
Sad
won't
ćemo
find
se-
one
Evo ga još
for
jedan bug.
now. So FaZe should be able to grab
Kaže,
the
mogu smo
revives.
carryat.
Howl in the dip.
A ve, znali ste vi da možda Nokan lik bude u autu?
I mean, they're gonna be
Kako
chasing for
baš?
a lot, but still, I mean, the fact
Ja
that
to nisam
DA
znao.
didn't regroup.
Ja
We
nisam
talked
znao.
about
Juče
them
sam
very
vidio
well, how they
ono
do these ballsy splits and how,
na turnir.
yes,
Vrko, ma
today
what the
and
fuck, ovaj u kola?
yesterday,
I on
for
stvarno
parts
u kola.
of it kind of worked out for them, but
Oh,
this time
umiru.
around, just not the case at all.
Yeah.
I would have really wanted to see them
UM.
instantly regroup, whether it be on Gadcare or up and down or whatever you want to call the compound that after all took from them.
Ja mislim
Just
da se
regroup
Dulić
on it and
izjebao.
take the fight 4v4.
O ja,
There you go. More parachutes being
Zašto?
popped. Or
On
emergency
je kaže da
shots,
će
I
doći
should
po
say,
vas,
as hot air
lik
balloons
ode i luta.
to the sky. And
Lutaj ti.
No,
that's now the shots being fired towards
Druže,
Melman. I
ja.
think he's gonna think twice about
Ja,
jumping
neće
out
2
into
minute
that
počet
emergency
lutat.
pickup.
Moram sam tom retardu
Is
naći
he doing
auto da
some
može
forward
skupiti
scouting as Wu
fuzija.
mounting up in the vehicles, maybe getting ready to make another
Slobodno
attempt
se
at
krećite
playing the
ovako,
same shack
razumiješ.
that eventually cost them their
Sve je
life
to free.
in the game prior to this one. That
Pa i
was
ovamo
some
ima auto
good
sigurno,
shots from
da.
Voldemort. I don't think he knows
Druže, imamo
quite
3
how
najbolja
low
auta.
he actually got
2
that player.
bagija
Zerfi
i Ferrari.
will just fall down into the
A čekaj,
compound,
možda si
draw the
video?
attention away from
Daj ga. Daj ga jesi.
Može, daj ga
He's
Ferrari
not
vam.
feeling very great.
Pa man je za
And
tebe.
Batulins will just
Sada. Ode.
completely wipe him out as soon as his feet touch the ground. He's in
Yeah.
headshot range, and there's not really anything he can do.
Hey,
Once
Marta.
again, open field endgame is where we are going to go. As Yeba want to clear out the last player here for smoke wall. No reason.
Jeba.
Holy moly, Voldemort through the smoke and all. Finds the headshot, probably more of a pre-fire, as you can see here as well.
Give it.
Hearing the footsteps inside, kind of try and
Kao dojde,
calculate
sorry.
the
Imamo li
movement.
neki
Jesi
chick
ti
flick?
vidiš
One,
moj
and
trace?
more
Vidiš
back
moj
and
trace?
all.
Retard.
Ne vidi on.
Ace
Nisam
might
mislio
be
će lik
in an
ovdje
awkward
biti.
spot here
Pa
as
vi
the
ste
Wu is
avion,
starting
jebot,
to
kako
make
neće
a
biti
bit of a
tu?
wrap around the southern
Zapravo
side
da,
of the
bravo si.
zone. Actually,
Ali postojala je
maybe
šansa,
just
nije baš to
opening
toliko
themselves a
daleko.
little bit of a path as Uber still just looking up on that rooftop, looking to get an angle into where FaZe
Kamo je
by
prošao?
Howl. He's been sat down, but the Wu's
A
wrap
sad ja
around
ne
the
smijem ni
south
pucat,
means
to
that
neko
any
još
push
prođe,
to
jel?
follow
Da.
that up from Ascend
A
is
gdje je
gonna
prošao
have
po meni,
to
jel?
be
Da,
paused
ide još
for
jedan.
the time being.
A šta na mene?
And full third party action can resume for
Pa daj,
Navi
nemoj
as
stop,
FaZe
zapravo.
Ovo je prvi
pushed
put
on by
sad.
the Howl.
Let's see if they opt to go for it or
Izdavat
not. In the
nacistu
meantime,
pleše,
Wu
kako
trying to
počnu te
pull up
pucat,
an
sad ih
ascent.
ubi.
Not gonna happen, my friends.
Ko ti,
They
druže?
take three
Imaš
instantly
šek, ti
quits.
staneš 2 metra od
The,
šeka i pucaš ljude.
The protector
Druže, ja
does
sam
manage
jučer
to
stao
take
u
down
plesu,
Killing.
ljudem
I saw a
stali,
little bit of
počeo
damage being
pucati
done
i
in
podno.
return, but not the outcome they were hoping for. Trying
Jebi
to
ga
play
nasjeli.
11 hit
Dobro
points
da je vas
left.
4 bilo u kampu.
I'm not
Ili
sure.
bi bilo
staro
kao-
gledao da govori.
Abe, auti prolaze be.
Turn back around, wrap the
Pa
way that he
pozdravi.
came
Tu je.
from, and there's a good reason
Zelenković.
they came away from this side of the zone. He's also just
Tako
forced
je.
Ascend into making another wild wrap rotation of their own, and a combination of Nailup and Dante will sit down most of the squad.
Kako mi se
Just
sviđa
the
ovaj
last couple of
ljubičasti
weeks. Had to hop out of the
Beryl.
vehicle. He's just lurking across the field, just off the right-hand side of the screen, creeping
Ljuto
up
sam ja,
towards
kanga,
question
kakav
mark.
mi je da sam slušao.
And now up towards the northeast, we're having a very similar situation of Foot Esports, Twisted Minds, and
Možda
after
se
all,
sredi.
fighting
Ovo
one
neko
another. These
lutava.
games today have just been all over the place. Phase 4, 42 players alive only now, and I could imagine that number is gonna decrease
Lutava je.
heavily within the next 10, 15 seconds,
lutava.
depending on how the fight unfolds up towards that northeast. Smoke wall will fall, 14th place for them. Nothing
Ispod
going
ti za
today
Bosu
here either so far.
Nemam ni rado sam.
16 points
Goriva.
accumulated.
Jo, lači, što si ga u toj boji ofarbao? Bolje u
Imam
otvaranje.
6 fička.
The northwestern side of the zone that they can influence. a
Treba mi
lot
chick
more
bet
than
samo.
it might look at first glance. I mean, Brexco
Vi
is probably not long for this
metra
world. It may be Nailep who picks him off, as they already did take down a teammate. It will be with the SKS.
Tamo je čitav
Quite
tim
creep into the
prošao. Ti
compound
da
of QM to get the damage done, but at the same time, Evas is up
I na zeleni trace je
slight
prošao.
high ground, watching over
Onda
the
gdje god
team
idemo.
engagement up to the north.
Samo jebani.
There's very little that can be
Tam
done
ti
to prevent
bez
this push coming through
kupte
now.
se ide,
BBL
ali.
will finally unfortunately have to defend their bowl as the push from FaZe
Koliko su ubijaju ljudi.
Masok se, ti možda ideš.
Once these smokes fade, it's gonna be very hard for FaZe to do anything, and especially now with the first nade coming through, they're just gonna keep spamming them. Waiting for the kill to follow. One denied, not gonna happen. Second time around, though, as Michael sends it in. That's all of FaZe down in 12th place. And now BBL hearing the vehicles from Na'Vi might just be perfect timing to pick up one here, but no. Backing off themselves because they know they have a rotation yet to be made. Are they wrapping around into the ball again?
Oh no. The flip reverse.
Yeah, exactly.
Pushane gume.
Who pulls up on who? Smash though. Ready. Finds the first. Gets a vehicle in the face and falls down because of it. Now one more down as Howl enjoys a piece of this one too. Michael, all on his own.
Na glavu pade drop.
Ali s obzirom da su dvije ekipe lijevo, mislim da postoji šansa ako idemo ravno da ćemo uspjeti.
Da, sad ne mogu first stisnut sad kad vozim 150.
Možeš poslije 3 sekunde.
Eno rotacija ispred nas, Gruz brdo.
Ne trebaš držat, moraš čekat.
Evo ga tu je, da. Daj ga ubijamo, u zonu smo.
Ubijaj ga.
Bolje mi njih nego oni nas. Daj ovog da ga ofarbamo. Gledaj sad, Laki. Opa.
From FaZe after wiping them out. He had about 20 left outside of his weapon. Wasn't really ideal, but just perfect timing from Na'Vi. A heads up rotation into the bowl, and it is exactly a reversal.
A ako čujete pucanje, markujte mi, pošto meni si na stream čuje pucanje.
The result ends up the same. They actually have a solid position to try and hold back against Howl. A bit of help from Yepa up to the north.
Da li će ostavimo da prolutam ili ne?
In the upper bracket,
Ne, ako stavimo.
Absolutely insane, somewhat like what 30 kill win or 25 kill win next game. We have seen 222 kill wins from Twisted Minds and Foot Esports earlier, but this time around don't think that's gonna happen. Yepa trying to make a run on off, gonna be denied by the Soto from Wu. Quizzy find the double. We'll see if we can get more of it.
Evo ga ovdje na terasicu markovao sam.
Spiro though does get the knock on one.
This is the last man standing of the squad that tried to push onto Ascend and failed. Had to wrap all the way back around through the east, and Yepa just was not ready for it at all. They'd already vacated, they'd already left the compound behind and made a move and just got backstabbed. I mean, it likely won't come to too much more for him. He's under a heavy watch from Twisted Minds up to the north, but he's done a whole lot of damage.
Sandal finds Quizzy.
Junk mogli da uzmem, imali ljudi.
Ne vidim ljude u prvom dijelu, ali ne mogu da skautam sve osim ove kuće na žutu. Da zapustim dva prava kampa, jer smo dosta
Yeah, so I get a feeling that there's going to be a lot of deaths very soon.
Yes, everyone forced to play it here as the open fields in the middle are absolutely treacherous. You know what, right now, I think these players wish this was Rice Fields.
Ima ljudi.
In the middle where you have rich lands.
Ali je samo McLaren, bro, ima lik.
So as much as you might hate the open fields in Tego, sometimes you wish you were there.
A-Bale's just
sometimes.
Those little ridges in the rice fields are really good at flipping your cars over, but I mean, right now, car forts is about the best anyone will be able to do in about 2 minutes time. Still left standing, that is, after a doozy grenades himself.
Ako je junk free, junk, šta ti penali?
On nije, meni niko pušao bio
sam. Niko nije pucao, jedno. Što ćemo, junk?
Ali ne znam da li free.
Ovaj prva je free, to je 100%.
Prva da.
Da ja ovo znam.
Nije ni lutano ovo prvo.
Šik 5 mi treba kao levac, ali nema nigdje.
From Na'Vi now, they
are within
the vision from Entropic.
Desno gore na ribu
Maybe
govorite
has
moj
to be
pin.
parked a little differently, but overall this is a very, very smart, slow approach. Now try and kind of hold out the teams coming out again.
Ovo je lutano, pazi. Ovo je lutano, ono nije bilo lutano.
And losing Beamy very early on. Exactly gonna make things end
Ovdje mi vide gume, a?
T-Bone is trying to do wrap around on one side as Q falls
Ne
from
znam da
DA.
nisam prsio.
Nope.
Ima li barrel negdje možda?
Evo ti super surbat.
Ja ti kom da je metnu.
really can't
Moram
afford
ga
to lose this,
preparkirat,
especially as
da će
Twisted
mi
Minds
gumbe
are still
Stavi ga ovdje, brate. Odi ga utraj.
I mean, best
Da,
case
pomeri.
scenario, they just pause this fight, wipe out Twisted Minds, and then go for it. But you really don't get that sort of option in a match of this caliber, so they're just gonna have to take the loss of BB and try and make it work the old-fashioned way. Low ground it will have to be, and after all, with a smoke wall,
To je
some
Meksiko.
reasonable cover from Foot Esports. But
Ja ne
it's
uzeh
just
ona sam ih sad
nothing
ozgo, pa
in front
jebog.
of them. It's just a vast open space, and nobody wants to be the first to enter it.
Exactly. Nobody wants to have to make that play. There's a crate in there, though, for the team daring to make the aggressive play forward. But for now, everyone's trying to play this one safe. Once again, Twisted Minds able to make their way to the. Look at this, 8, 9, 10. If we could just kill Entropic and Navi real quick, I mean, we couldn't write this up any better. Once again, it would be the 3 teams from the hunt able to rag up the much-needed points. And here comes Entropic, full speed forward, trying to take it out. Navi gets one run over. No, actually, it is the other way around. And just like that, they're both
Ljudi
taken
sa
out.
Meksika
And
imaju
look
dobro
at
politicu,
the
klikajmo.
points now,
Ili iza.
Saga.
Imaš
Foot,
neko.
after all,
Ima
Twisted
iza ovdje,
Minds
da.
on the
Da, ali ima i 2 boltice.
Ima li Berilković neki da ste vidjeli tu?
Pa kad ih ubijem da ovo tu već. Je bio blizu?
Ne.
Ok, fajte se.
Fajte se tamo na ridge oko zeleni.
Pa do branci idu, jeste.
Ima ovdje lik, gdje ste vi bili. Da, gdje ste vi bili.
Dok je uzeo tvoj 8x 100%. Leti lik vest, idu na ulica. Vidim. A majka ti kurva što mi pucaš. Iskočio je. Gore s naboru skočil. Mi ono hodot leža i onda se dižemo polako. Ono je te nog dobiti. Jer će nas skrešati. Jel? Stvari dosta su daleko. Ozbiljno? Ne.
Moramo odbraniti žuti i zeleni.
A nemam da će žuti na nas, a mislim da će žuti ovako već pa ćete ući. 35 life. Evo ide, zeleni već ide. Iće ako vamo. Nisu svi mumuli samo jedan? Tam sam Meklar ne bilo. Svi sad, idu svi sad. Možemo se ti ući. Idu svi.
Ja ću povući jedno auto, ne?
Ja ću čekam ove dole su.
I oni još dole.
O jebe.
Znači lik je bio na crvenom prvi.
Da, pa da branici ili?
Ne, još kad smo mi došli ovdje je bio plavi je stao lik. Plavi pravno. Ima auto tamo. Nokan lik na ovom.
Krarem, da. Nije umram?
A nemoj.
Ja prestano da ga pucam.
Meni nešto druže. Meni isto nešto.
Gledaj, dalje je živ. I dalje puzi.
Nokan lik na pravom.
Izbušili su mi McLarenić.
Emergency negdje sam ovog pina.
Titan je na plavom.
Je neko ist. Da, neko ist. Meksiko liga. Ili se ista. Ko te nokao? Nego se vamo ljudi.
Vidim ga.
Pa ja sam ti rekao da će Meksiko to gledati. A nije to Meksiko. Kako nije, brate, Meksiko muvo.
Nije bre Meksiko, bre.
Nije Meksiko.
Ovdje je ušao zeleni.
Ide još jedna auto, to je sve isto tako.
Gledaj, plavi.
Gledam. Moram ja spustit na tebe, pošto su ovakvi.
Možeš ti uzeti žut.
Žut.
Mogu ja.
Letili su ovaj kamp sad ljudi. Auto ispred mene prevrnuo se. 35.
Koliko daleko?
Tako, hitan ovo.
Koliko
Bio odmah
daleko?
iz ovog kriđa, plavi.
O, koji shift.
Kovo close.
Ja sam prošao.
To je to na žutom liku.
Tu taj smo kada nešto milo auto. Trojica su tu sigurno.
Vidim ih. Vidim jednog bar. To je.
Gadje, ne idete.
Zeleni je.
Vidim tu desno.
Imaju auto.
Imaju.
Ne polapamo mi žut.
Neko ih već pucao.
Možemo im prvo ovdje pa izvidimo to. Ima neko plavi.
Pucao me plavi, da.
Tu si sa kampa digo lik. Jer je
Gdje
open.
tako?
Imamo moj McLaren.
Malo iznad mog pina. Lik prvo na 200. Okan. Koliko je okan?
Ne znam odakle je ovo. Ne, dobar si.
Ja sam isto dobro, ali nemate vremena.
Bili su se na brdo iznad. Ali četvrta je zona. Šarajmo.
Nemaš vremena. Vidi pa mi moj loot i begaj. Ako trebaš nešto.
Majak.
Ja još uvijek nisam dobio kilu to. Na žutom. Mogu da sad u auto dobio sam sad.
Izbuši mi gumu.
Ili tek ispred njih.
Dobio je kill Mosox. Onak su ga. Gdje idemo?
Dvojica su na plavom. Fajtat će se gore na brdu, to nisu bitno. Fajtaju se na brdu.
Ko te pucao?
Iza vas se fajtaju, plavi. Morate se ukrenut. Ne vidite ih.
To je bajk.
Trojica, 3 na 1 se fajtaju.
Jebem ti majku.
Odakle te naš?
Negdje tu ispred mene. Tu je neko žut.
Ti su muvali ka gore.
Kako ti igraš tu? Volaju ljudi, brate, tačno sam znao, brate, kad sam vidio 5 miksova, tačno sam znao da ne treba se igrati.
Evo ga bio na openu. Levo čeka se da bio na openu. Gdje je njemu mozak, brate, da ovako?
Ma zato što nema niko, ne igra 25 je živo, razumiješ? On tu od starta ne smije igra, on igraju Split jebote.
Oni su pustili tamo, brate.
Ubre.
Prvo je fasa.
Ti možeš pali auto i otići, jel?
Niko. O, brate, šta rade retardi? Retardi!
Between FaZe Clan and Entropic.
Ciao, Lacho.
In the end, but it counts for bragging rights. That's probably more realistic, but I tell you what, we can hope for a very impactful end game, because the one that we had at the end of PEC Spring, where it came down to literally the final kill of the tournament, was so unbelievably hype, and we can only hope to recreate that.
Yeah, and I gotta say here, Toby, how close our leaderboard is currently really talks to how, you know, our used to be mid-pack teams or teams that are behind, they have really caught up to all our big teams. It is really, you know, 6, 7, 8 teams that are extremely close to each other in terms of skill and consistency.
And I think a lot of that goes into no one gets invited to grand finals anymore. You gotta bring everyone in right from the start on these ones, and they're proving that these qualifier stages, these upper bracket losers
Ma
bracket, whatever we want to
pa
be in,
isto rade ljudi.
stages are
Vidi, danas je bilo, Voxes, danas je bilo
played through,
materijala
and
za
as
6
we were talking
reportova.
about coming into
Razumije,
yesterday's
znači,
broadcast,
vidio
hard
sam
to
kad su
predict
ljudi
top 8,
stavljali
sure,
šta će
but
da
as you can
skaču,
see
vidio
here,
sam, znači,
practically
to je 3 ekipe,
impossible
4
for a
napisalo da će
reset
skaka
coming
PK do
in to the grand
počinke,
finals to
razumiješ.
predict who will be top
Retare
2
duže, nas ljudi
by the end of
ubijaju u
this.
vazduh, razumiješ, puca po tebi dok letiš iz aviona ka svom spotu, on te puca po tebi. Onda te kempaju, ubijaju te prvu zonu, ja prolazim pored njih, ne da ga pucam, on puca mostvog se, razumiješ, i izbacuje ih za ulti flašag.
I would agree, but I also think this is a game where DA doesn't split
ne znam
because they know
stvarno
what's
ko
at the line,
igra
so I'm gonna go BBL.
All right, that's cool.
Znaš šta je, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, 7 mikseva jebote. Jel to ovo, stani? Jes.
Brate, uvek pukne kad treba počne
1, 2, 3, 5 mikseva. Jebote, evo.
Match left to play here in the top bracket. As you were saying, Saga, yes, you can win the upper bracket, but that essentially only creates for bragging rights as nothing else really comes with it. We're gonna full reset coming into the grand finals. No, the top 8 is where you want to be. And now we have that fun situation where does any of those really solidified teams go out to stir the pot now? Do they go out to mess things up for the other teams, or do they just let them play it on their own?
The real question would be, do any of the teams that are looking to make that cut, any of those MEA orgs have a reason to paint a target on the side of their heads? And do they have a favorable drop spot that somebody else might like? I mean, South George is pretty nice. I can't imagine that anyone's really going to be contesting BBL for drop spots overall, but I think, to be fair, it will just be a case of just play your own game and just really go for it. This is the final chance that you have to get direct qualification to the grand finals. Can't mess up now.
No, and as we kind of explained on the desk just before, let's just line it up for you one last time. Top 8 through DA, BBL tied at 75. Foot currently the team out, but they have had back-to-back really good games. A win followed by a second place. They are really looking strong here coming into the final wrangle of the day. And then we have up above them Twisted and Question Mark, which for now definitely looking very solid. But if both DA, BBL and Foot get good games going, they aren't necessarily safe to be in both of them. One of them could potentially fall.
Big turnaround actually for Foot, considering their Erangel games on day 1 were an average of 3.5 points per game, so they've really picked their moment to come back to life and just solidify the fact that this is a team that was minutes away from making an appearance at PGS1, and then the PGC points leaderboard would look entirely different. Yeah, things could have been so different back in March if just 1 or 2 gunfights had gone the opposite way. But for now, all comes down to this final game to see whether or not they'll go directly to the grand finals. That we don't really doubt they're going to get to the grand finals regardless, but it would be nice to get there today.
Okay, let me ask another question. If we were to just focus on DA, BBL, and Foot Esports, not so much talking about who is least likely to qualify now, but who would have the hardest time of the 3 in lower bracket?
I think in lower bracket, where we talk about the unpredictability of some of the teams who maybe don't have the same experience, and splits will be very dangerous. Again, DA, even so far in this tournament, we've seen DA take a full send hot drop on the western side of military base. They, as much as they've improved and become a little more disciplined, they can still get drawn into some shenanigans, and there's going to be a whole lot of shenanigans in the lower bracket, and we've got some here as well.
I need to know how this happened. Why is Example here? And why is Gustav right next to him? I need to know what led to this kill. The worst thing is I don't know if I will ever know, but I guess Example was just running around there, and Chris is just biking across. You know, that was a perfect transition. Let's just go from that situation to a bike. Boink. I mean, that's yeah.
This really seems to sum up the fact that a lot of teams are very confident in the fact that they're not getting knocked out of the top 8.
True.
They're correct. No one's going to be dislodging Ascend. They're fully clear. They'd need what, 3 teams to get 25 plus point games. It's not going to happen.
Hello.
Yeah, it's pretty good place for them to sit right now. Question mark. Again, I mean, they would really have to. I mean, not really. They would have to get a 0-point game here effectively, and also very specifically, 4 or 5 teams would need to have 10+ point games, which again, in a kind of roll of the dice, you need specific outcomes. It's very hard. But looking at the teams that need the points and look at how they've been playing today, still very possible.
Why is this happening, Toby?
Why are we? Is this APAC PUBG?
I think this is someone's been smack talking in DMs and said, "Hey, meet me on Potato Hill, you dweeb."
Both of them, but here comes the follow-up. James with hip fire. SKS around the corner will get one more, and this is just to all the people who are playing fantasy going, "Oh, you want minus points? Well, let's give them to you, because believe you me, a lot of people have, well, pretty much all FaZe players and most Na'Vi players on their teams too. So there you go. A lot of minus points being dashed out to anyone out there watching.
Actually, that's a good point. We must all be doing horribly because we've barely mentioned fantasy at all today. Normally we can't stop talking about.
I said from the start that I've just dropped trying to be clever on fantasy, because I can pick teams that on paper are phenomenal but then do nothing, and this is this tournament has not been any different.
Yeah, I am 0.06 points ahead of you. That is true. So
why are we?
just thought I'd double check. Well, Na'Vi and FaZe just run it down at each other.
Yeah,
something to talk about, I suppose.
They want to. I mean, you know what? It's almost 10:30. They want to get up tomorrow. They want to chill. They want to get this over with. And for Uber, able to find Corexi there, it's gonna leave this down to a 1v1, and maybe, just maybe, Fex has uninstalled the mortars early. Uber will now try and replicate that. And that one is going to bounce over the top and almost take him out. Not quite going to happen, though, as he's now inside, and Fex will come out victorious with 1 HP. Because why not make it as close as possible? And on the backside of that, here are the piranhas in the water that have smelt the blood. Why not kill half the server in this plank compound?
Exhibit A of why DA is the team who might get drawn into some of the chaos in the lower bracket, where this kind of thing is probably going to be commonplace. Just seems like there's gunshots, so the MEA players just sort of gravitate towards them. DA thankfully have kept their distance. They're just putting in shots from afar, but Howl and Yepper seem more than happy just to take this as TDM.
Yeah, I mean,
Fex is just stuck in the middle now.
It's one of those, am I stuck with you or are you stuck with me? He doesn't have a shotgun yet, so I'd say he's still somewhat stuck. But even then, I mean, he has nothing to lose, and in all fairness, neither Yepper or Howl really has a whole lot to gain. Unless if Howl does manage to pull off a 30-kill win here, then sure, that's doable. But I'm not even gonna fall into that.
Come on now. Good little spray, but 2x Org didn't quite get it done this time around. Fex has become very quiet all of a sudden. Odamavesi has not forgot about him. But the Howl have said, actually, forget about this. We're just going to back away. We've lost one. We got a kill. Fair trade. Fex, though, he's going to try and get FaZe to 100.
Oh, gotta get those flushes. We know how much they need the points. Oh, nice angle from Medbay. We'll be able to get one confirmed. She's gonna run in and loot. Nope, now Exalt comes in, because why not? And gets themselves some extra points. What is this? Guys,
like
stop it.
It's just
there are more compounds in this first circle than this one. You do not have to come here. This is the, I mean, look, okay. If we were to look at the spiral effect of what has happened here, look at the south half of the map. There are effectively 6 players there. On the southern, and he got a flush with a pistol, because why not?
Of course he did.
There are effectively 6 players, make that 5, make that 4 players on the southern half of the map. Please hard shift south. Please circle hard shift south. Because Ascend is there. If there's a team that tends to get a circle going that way or two, that would be them. So it wouldn't be out of the question.
Ascend is just begging for this to happen every game. They've got about 8 kilometers of free space. Metabay gets a grenade in the kitchen. Molodux will just have to wait for it to go off before he finishes the push.
Who's the next team to push
and
this?
Finally, the TDM is at an end? Question mark.
Wait, no one
Seems
is pushing
that way.
this?
Yeah. No.
This,
Howl well, Schofield, all that remains of Howl, has decided that he's not going to get involved. It's just a full line. Everyone's to the north, apart from Ascend, and Chris, probably just on a bike, is just going to make his way in this direction and just come across these houses and just wonder what in the world happened here.
18 players down prior to the 10-minute mark, and Ascend, you know what? Please just pull up on this.
Yeah, if they
just for the do it for the memes. The thing is, I'm not sure if they are exactly aware of where that fight went down. I mean, it's not exactly a prio position that teams tend to fight over early game, but who knows? Maybe they'll run into it by mistake on purpose. We'll have to wait and see. In the meantime, Circle does shift over towards school. Twisted Mind's going to be sat very, very well in this one. DA as well in a good position. And Foot Esports, the team up towards the north, the team on the cusp, have to figure out how they're going to approach this. We're seeing the emergency pickup being lined up. Are they going to go for it, all of them? Maybe send a couple down with it? Or what are they planning on doing here?
Actually have...
I think they're all going for it. After all doing the same thing. So more pickups being found this time around.
But where will they end up is the question. Are we all just going to have like a slightly delayed full hot drop on apps? Is Twisted Minds going to have to defend their honor once again from this position? Perfectix in the school by himself, so if that is the target of anyone's parachuting shenanigans, that might be a problem for Twisted Minds.
Well, why not scout the compound? Please just push the compound. I would really want for Ascent to push this compound, and then when they come down there, see there like 19 corpses and go, what the actual...
Why are there so many cars here? They can't all be spawns.
Exactly. Twisted Minds, well, might as well install those flat cannons early as they try and take Foot out, who are dropping onto school. Wait, no. Are they? Yes, they are. Full speed forward into school they go. Twisted Minds trying to set up any sort of anti-aircraft possible. T-Bone knocked on arrival, and they now know who they're dealing with. Are they going to push this, or are they going to back off? Seems like Perfectix, at least for now, trying to get into a better position. They have grouped up here, but are they leaving? It seems like they might just be. They're giving Foot this position.
Yeah, they brought the backup over. They brought in the support just in case things were going to get a little hairy, but with the one knock that came through, Foot not looking to get overly aggressive. I mean, they can't really afford to get overly aggressive. Ascend absolutely can, and they're going to.
We totally needed one more team here. We could not just let it end with 5 teams. We needed the 6th. We needed one more team in this building. I just want like a panorama, not a panorama, what do you call it, like a cinematic fly-through from the observers now, where we just see all the crates in there. There's gotta be so many corpses in this building. And Schofield is still not done.
Yeah, Schofield's still killing off Exalt from down below.
What is this? What is
take
this?
The fight out of the Hound, but you can't take other way around.
Yeah.
Up on the roof, not really required. Michael will get the job done. Fate will meet his fate, and Schofield will just have to sit back in his compound, fire some bolty shots, and be happy that at the very least the team that wiped out the rest of his team is now dead. But also Ascend stole some of their kills, so now he has to kill them as well. Vendetta fully secured.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want this circle to quadruple hard shift onto Ascent now, just so we can end the game in the compound. We would try and beat the Guinness World Record of how many players can die in the same building in a game of competitive PUBG. Please just hard shift southeast for the memes. I would be all for it.
Has to go away from the water, right? We're on copium.
Oh my god!
Okay.
It actually went down there, and we didn't even have to shift away from water. It's a wow. Oh wait, yeah. This is
eventually. Well, Twisted Minds will be going back to apps, and Foot have profited bigly from their emergency parachute directly onto the school. They did just about manage to swipe the revive, keep all four back alive. It was T-Bone that got originally knocked and was in a bit of a dangerous spot, and maybe got quite fortunate that BBL were actually dealing with a sneaky attempt at a push from smoke wall up towards the water tower, or likely would have been killed off. But this could be big, as Digital Athletics looking to make a move past Apps. QF more than likely going to be lost, and they are 76 points, close to the cutoff.
That is a dangerous run through to try and make, knowing there's teams on the west side in those apartments, and the amount of time you have to spend traversing that field just makes it so damn easy for players to take you out. Liking this route much more, going a bit closer to Entropic maybe, but their ankles aren't good, and therefore the remaining two DA players should be able to cross over safely.
BBL on the move now. They've left the Hog behind. Yeah, they're going a direct route, and
oh no,
it seems like we're doing it again. Oh, the kill feed T-Bone being. Where did
BBL
they go,
down?
Toby?
BBL
what
down.
Just happened?
The three teams fighting for points here, just running straight into one another. And Foot now set on one side. Spyro blows himself up. Not sure exactly what that was all about, but it just adds to the. What is it? I don't even know what the word for it is. Oddness, weirdness, strangeness that has become this match.
They call it the game sixness, I believe.
Yeah, that's another way to put it, I suppose.
Oh man, Lyron just well, he got the final bullet on 2 players of BBL with a grand total of just about 70 damage, so they were already tagged up pretty heavily, but that's by far the worst case scenario for BBL to go out with 0 points, give the points over to a direct competitor. There's no way that they can do anything to overtake now. So all they can do is hope that Foot Esports get completely deleted, and from their position in school, that is very unlikely.
Yep, depending on, of course, where the next circle takes us. If we do go hard south, that might just be a change. Also, I like how after all, I mean, they were one of 2 teams to take the emergency pickup to the circle. They're now the only team in the blue. Just, I mean, sometimes you get sometimes you don't get the circle with the parachute in. Now let's see, 5 seconds to go until the next circle pops, and we're seeing Entropic in the meantime approach Ascent, because why not bring more people over to this compound? And Circle, well, keeps it in.
Within a couple of 100 meters, it's a stretch, but I suppose we'll count it. Evas gets added to the death total of the most haunted houses on a wrangle, and actually Entropic, they've backfilled the houses. They found at least 2 bodies and might be adding a 3rd as well, as Kilyakai gets double headshotted. Actually, that's a pretty sick spray from Lucarux. And well, Ascend have just had the rug fully swept out from under their feet, and now they have to push the compound again. And what do you know? If you look to the northwest,
oh, look at that! Solo is coming down here as well. We're gonna reach a point, Saga, where half the server has died in and around this compound in phase 4. This is stupid, but in a really, really, really fun way. Why not just put the M16 on burst and see what you can get with it? Rexco finds Mexi on the roof. As they now consider pushing further forward. They must have heard the shots fired from the other side. Does that force a send off, knowing there are only 2 left alive? Or does finding even more potential points? And also Twisted Minds is shooting up in this direction. So we'll see if anything even wilder is going to happen off of this.
I mean, again, there is a solid 400 meters of empty space between this and any other team. It's just a massive gravitational pull. This area, and Entropic are just holding it down inside the buildings again, just letting Solo put the damage onto Ascend as they try to wrap around the edge. Not getting overly aggressive, but there's so many bodies here. You can loot whatever you like.
I'm not gonna lie, I feel like this compound could use like at least 1 more team. And you know what? Why not bring it in?
Please.
We're seeing, no, they're actually flying straight down towards it. Woo, what are you doing? Just get out of here. Just get out of here already. We are already reaching half the server dead in that position. We don't need 4 as much as I'm saying.
Ćao, braćo. Prošli smo, vidimo se sutra. U stvari u finalu.